Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Happy Friday to you all. And we made it through another week of work. And we're ready to get started with some Higurashi. How's everybody doing tonight? Hello, X-Dude. Hello, Proxima. Hello, Nate. Great to see you all. Thanks for joining in. It should hopefully be a pretty swell time tonight. And hopefully we'll have more mystery and intrigue in the world of Hinamizawa. Here's hoping. I'm not too sure what's going to happen next, but I was told by a friendly YouTube commenter that I was almost certainly not going to be making it through the rest of Chapter 3 in just 2 more streams, so I'm going to take an extra one just to make sure we get it done in time. Oh, there's a Lemmings Forums meetup tomorrow. Ooh, very fun. Very nice indeed. Hopefully that's enjoyable. Yes, so we're at the end of Chapter 6 of Chapter 3. Oh, yes, of course. That makes perfect sense. So, Satoko's in a rough situation. She now has to live with her terrible uncle again, which is not ideal. And, like, Coach and Keiichi are kind of like, we want to do something, but Coach is kind of the opinion, like, well, there's not much we can do. And Keiichi's like, no, there's got to be something. So, I have a feeling one way or another, the uncle is going to end up dead. I don't know if, like, Keiichi's going to kill him, or if he's going to be, like, the victim, or one of the victims of this year's Watanagashi. But we might be encountering the festival this time around, because we haven't had it yet, and it's usually a pretty integral part of these chapters, so let's go. Alright, yep, so this is the aftermath of going home after leaving Satoko at her house. So, Keiichi's not going to be in a very good mood. I went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally I would reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things, but that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realize how much Satoko must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Satoko might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. Or fists. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. Then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We'd thought that if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. But with what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satoko was obstinate, and she would stubbornly deny the abuse, and try to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then run away. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, then I would do what I had to. In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see, too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it. Over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, she might criticize me if she found out. But I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Hey, Samperser, welcome. Oh, so we've got 2 different Nates here in chat. Interesting. Well, welcome. Glad you joined in. Wait, Keiichi Maibara. Would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported it to a public agency like the Child Consultation Center. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year, they decided to do just that, and the situation improved temporarily, but then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year, it was her uncle. I had just seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed much more direct, much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt. No, not that subtle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on Satoko's body. Shit! You're too naive, Keiichi Maibara. However heroic it may seem to report what was happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. I'm telling you, we just have to make a fake Tinder profile for him, get a match, send him away on a booty call for a year, and boom, we're problem solved. It'll be easy, right? Hey, Liz, welcome. First one here. Well, actually, you're the third person in chat, but there you go. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed that I hadn't realized it until Rena said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw-thatched roofs in Hinamizawa, it was really big. We did actually have empty rooms. I've never thought that we were affluent, but also never that we were poor. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job came and stay every once in a while. No worries. No worries. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad uses for storage, they could work for her as well. Is he actually going to broach the topic? It's going to be hard to explain this to Mr. and Mrs. Maibara, but, you know, well, I was about to be like, it's Keiichi, he can convince them, but also he has a tendency to be like, freak out, and people don't understand. As for food expenses, that might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone pecking at everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, though, that would have to be up to Mom. I would need to convince her to lend Satoko more than just a room. Of course, I don't think even convincing her of that would be easy. About how much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 to 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more, thanks to New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken all of that and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money. And if I got that far, I could ask Mion and Rena to share some of the burden. Of course, I wouldn't depend on that. Rena got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto others. I'd have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through on it. Oh, but it wouldn't only be food expenses. There were a lot of other things that you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once, that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satoko would use for her own clothes. I couldn't think about only food expenses. That's true. There's a lot more to living than just that. I needed more money. I need money. Hey, wait, Keiichi Maibara. Since when was this all about money? Even if you could afford it, you would also need your parents' permission first. Yeah, you can't just hide her in one of the rooms. That would be weird. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a little bit, Keiichi Maibara, and you'll realize right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they would tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maibara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? That's what would happen. That was it. It was a very sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything.
そんなにも子供って無力なのかよ。
If it makes you feel better, Keiichi, a lot of times adults are powerless too. Actually, that probably would make him feel worse. I felt frustrated. I believed my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought they were stronger than Coach's. And yet... At that point, there were 2 knocks at my door, and Mom poked her head inside.
起きてたの？さっきからご飯ってずっと呼んでるわよ。
あ、うん。今行く。
As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing and food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I'd shamelessly thought of it as the responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. But when I realized that natural thing was actually a right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even that boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on the table right now, for Dad, for Mom, and for me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place at that table. Think, Keiichi Maibara. If it was hard to make food for 4, then just think about how 4 people could eat food made for 3. Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. Oh no, I don't like where this is going. She should just live here in secret. No, don't do that. How is that gonna work? How is that even gonna work? There's no way you're gonna keep that a secret. There's no way Satoko's gonna go along with this. Oh, this guy's just an idiot. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, if you climbed out the window and then shimmied down the first floor roof or the gutter, you could get in and out of the house directly from my room. Satoko's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it would be even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. Bruh, nah-uh. Nuh-uh. I'd only have to bring Satoko to my house, and when the public agency said that they would wait and see. In other words, if Satoko's uncle continued to be her guardian. If, in such a situation, word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satoko back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt. So, I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here. This is such a bad idea. Oh my gosh. If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents' help would mean a lot, but gotta deceive your allies first, like they always say. This is so terrible, bro. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. Yeah, because that's a realistic proposition. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the second floor. The issue was the daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, she shouldn't go to school. It might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. And how long do you plan on keeping this going here? Like, until Social Security is like, yo, she ran away. Like, how... Eventually, they're going to be, oh, wait, no, here she is. Like, this is not a tenable solution by any stretch of the imagination. And yet, he's portrayed it as like, no, this is a realistic and only solution that would work. I could easily teach Satoko the stuff she learns in her grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. During the day, I would need to go to school, and so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around in my room while I was gone, so you think. I think. If she holed herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? If my parents did come, thanks to where the second floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. And there would be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimated a few seconds, that she should be able to hide herself in the closet. Wait, Keiichi. Something doesn't make sense. More than one thing. If she can't go to school, then what'll she do for lunch? Calm down already. I should just leave her my own lunch, couldn't I? I should just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. No more contradictions or oversights, right? Nope, Dad, no, there definitely still is. Oh, breakfast and dinner. I could somehow get her to go without breakfast. I can go 2 meals a day when I sleep in on Sundays, after all. Every night, I'd pretend as though I had a bigger appetite and then ask for a bigger helping. And then I could just somehow give part of that to Satoko. As a test. I stood up from my seat with my plate of fish in my hands.
どうしたのケイチ。ご飯は座って食べなさい。
ちょっと気分が変えたくなってさ。
Oh boy. This is just gonna be a regular thing every night.
自分の部屋で食べてもいいかな。
ボロボロ落として汚すぞ。食事は食卓で食べなさい。
Yep, it's important to eat as a family.
ごめん。
Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish, and they ganged up on me? In reality, it was impossible for me to smuggle food away without my parents knowing about it. But it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've got to hide. I opened the closet. Clatter, clatter. It didn't open quietly. Hey, wait. Didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? Was it already showing signs of dilapidation? Or were the hinges just not greased well enough? Could I just apply some lubricating wax? The sound itself might have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. But this was an easy problem. I could do something about it. I just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make noise anymore. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as though I'd successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. I couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into my closet. Even so, there might still be some reason they would. I might need to construct some sort of camouflage so that she wouldn't be noticed even if they did open it. But the more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide, meaning it would be more likely they'd hear a noise. And then, I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom? The need to use the toilet. So obvious, and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. I might need to set up a portable toilet, like a chamber pot, I guess. I can't believe he's still going with this. He's not like, never mind, this is stupid. He's like, no, I guess we could do this stupid thing. Satoko would hate it, so she could go in my room. But the stench, that would be pretty terrible. Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even coming into the room. The bath was okay, though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out. But I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I'd noticed that I'd been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest. I buried my face in them and tore at my hair. The more I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped place for so long. But if I was to shelter Satoko, I would need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place. Forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle, or so I wanted to think. It got hard to breathe, so I gave in and crawled out of the closet. I looked at the clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. It had felt like so little time, but it was so unbelievably long. When I realized that, I was slammed with the terrible urge to sleep as if the time had only just caught up with me. I didn't have enough strength to fight it, and I fall flat onto my futon. Shit! I can't just go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, then that'll mean I'm taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I needed to stop worrying about how to rescue Satoko for a minute, or even a second longer than everyone else did. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral, and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought. There were a ton of blind spots in what I'd considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow, I would suggest this bold plan to the others. Mion might be able to help somehow, and Rena was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we needed to rescue Satoko once again, with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satoko. This guy has a lot of pride. He's like, I have to be better than everyone else. I have to be the one to save her. It's like, I appreciate you care so much, but at the same time, I feel like this is not going to work out for you, buddy. The ceiling blurred into view. It was hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. The voices of the cicadas permeating my room were somehow grating to my head.
今日日曜日じゃないよな。
I remembered today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness. And then, finally, I leaped out of bed. The clock read a little before 10. I was totally late. When I wandered downstairs, my mom would get mad at me. There was nothing I could do, though. After reviewing the schedule for the school day for a moment, I suitably rearranged the stuff in my bag. I hurried and got dressed, then went out the stairs. There was no sign of my parents anywhere. Maybe they went out somewhere together. So that's how it was. My mother had probably woken me up once this morning, but then I fell back asleep without remembering it. And my parents, thinking I'd gone to school, left. Something like that probably happened. I went to the front door, and as I expected, it was locked. Looks like I was right. It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. When I realized my parents weren't here, I suddenly felt less like I had to rush to get to school. I'll just play hooky. There was one portion of breakfast left in the dining room. Probably mine. The milk they'd poured in had gone warm since a while ago. When I realized how hard it would be for me to sneak food for Satoko, yesterday I had cried. Well, thinking back on it, food wasn't the only issue in that regard. I wasn't in a position where I could care for Satoko by myself anyway. That was a double four, wasn't that? I wasn't in a position where I could care for Satoko. Wow! After how many re-releases, they actually still have that error. Interesting. Such a shame. Such a heavy feint just to save a single person. I'd seen this on TV and in the comics all the time. Those feel-good words about how you'll save your friends for sure and such. And that's why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her. Because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that absolutely wasn't true. We can't all be Superman, alright? Because the fact was, I couldn't save her. Because I didn't want to think like an adult. Like I couldn't do anything but watch. Had Satoko gone to school today? I immediately realized that was a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her, and no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle.
俺たちは無力か。
With a vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put on my shoes and stumbled out the front door. I had only overslept by 2 or 3 hours, but the sunlight and the air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came around, you could barely call it morning anymore. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. I needed to ultimately get up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one, to get to school. Put in a more positive light, maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. I had to go to school. Partly to make sure Satoko was safe. Also, you know, you kind of have an education to think about. But I hadn't come up with any plans yet. Nothing since last night. So the path I took from my house was in the complete opposite direction. Oh boy, Stardew Valley. How about that? If I went this way, I'd pass Rena's house and the dam site. It would be quite a detour. I calculated how long of a detour it would end up being, and then, satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Why are you going this way, dude? This guy does not care about his education. Rena had brought me to the dam site a few times. One section of it had turned into an unlawful, oversized garbage dump, and Rena really liked going fishing for junk in there. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl, too. I could think of a few other qualities she could do without, but whatever. Yeah, mainly the crazy eyes. The view quickly opened up wide, and I was hit by a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. Maybe it was a good thing I came here, I thought. At the very least, it was more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this instead of my cramped bedroom. I took a deep breath and filled my lungs with the rich, cold air unique to Hinamizawa. Breen, breen! I turned around reflexively. It was a bicycle bell. Considering where I was standing, I don't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They'd rang the bell because they wanted something from me.
いやあ、申し訳ないね。
Yo, yo, yo! It's our boy Tomatake! It's been so long. We haven't seen you since you died in Chapter 2. How you doing, man?
君、ひなみ沢の人だよね。
そうですけど。
I love the French music. I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. His name, I think, was Tomatake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. He would zealously visit Hinamizawa every season to take pictures. Or so Mion and the others told me, I think.
古出神社ってここからどう行けばいいか教えてもらえないかい？
Why do you want to go to Rika's shrine?
マップを宿に置いてきちゃったみたいでね。困ってたんだよ。
ここから神社ですか？
I hope Keiichi's a little better at navigation than I am. I knew where everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was difficult. I was a little irritated at having been bothered for this, but then I quickly realized it meant my detour actually meant something. That feeling faded quickly.
教えてもいいですけど、ちょっと口で説明するのは難しいですよ。一緒でよければ連れて行ってあげますけど。
え？それはかたじけないね。
Yeah, okay. Now we have a valid excuse. It's a Keiichi. Why are you 5 hours late to school? Well, I met this guy named Tomatake, and I wanted to show him around town because he was lost. Oh, what a good guy you are, Keiichi. Here's a gold star.
助かるよ。あ、
Here,
でも
have some
いい
hard
のか
candy.
い？君の用事は。
Nope, no, I got nothing to do today. Tomatake-san finally appeared to have realized how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. I smoothly told him not to worry about it and turned my back and started walking towards the Furude shrine. Tomatake-san hurried to turn his bike around and came after me.
ごめんごめん。気にしないでくれよ。男には組織を離れて一匹狼になりたい時もあ
I
るん
don't
だよ
think
ね。
this is what it means. What a free-minded freelancer. It was easier for me, too, that he was under the impression.
僕は富武 フリーカメラマンさ。専門は野鳥と風景。まだまだ無名だけどね。
It seemed absurd for him to introduce himself when I was just showing him to the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give him mine back. He's just being friendly.
前原圭一です。まあよろしく。
圭一くんかい。よろしくね。
Aren't you supposed to be at school? Principal sent me. He seemed like a pretty silly man, but that felt kind of good considering I'd been suffocating with worry over Satoko all night. Look, Tomotake's the best adult character in this, so... Along the way, Tomotage-san spoke at length to me about how precious the nature in Hinamizawa was, and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds, despite me not having asked. I wasn't interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I left him to it.
この石段を上がれば神社の境内です。
ありがとう。助かったよ。ああ、ちょっと遅刻しちゃったかな。
As Tomotage-san mumbled to himself, he left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. I didn't have a watch, but as far as my internal clock could guess, it was still a little late in the morning. School wasn't very far from here. Maybe I could kill a little more time until then. He does not care at all! He's like 5 hours late to school. He's like, well, you know, I could kill some time before going to school. What are you going to say to teacher when you're late, buddy? With that in mind, I went up the stairs in pursuit of Tomotage-san. When I reached the top of the long staircase, I arrived at the wide-open shrine grounds that were too grand-looking for this tiny village. Rika's gonna be here just like, you're playing hooky Keiichi, Nipa! Tomotage-san. Oh, there he is. It looked like he was supposed to be meeting someone here. Then he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. Oh no, it's gonna be Creepy Nurse, isn't it? Sure is! It's Creepy Nurse! Wow! How do we know? Hey, they look so friendly and cute together. And she looks a lot more sinister in this one.
あら、前原くんじゃない。
You barely open your mouth when you talk.
こんにちは。今日は学校はお休みかしら。
Yeah!
あれなんだ、圭一くんついてきたのかい？
別にそんなつもりはないですよ。ただ、ちょっと時間つぶしがしたかっただけです。
I really don't want to go to school today.
あらあら、重役出勤とは優雅なものね。さすがは有名人。
That's one way
今
to
か
look
ら
at
大
it,
物ぶりを発
Takano.
揮してること。
What was I, a celebrity? Well, she did say my name out of nowhere anyway. I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous.
あら、私の名前はまだ思い出せない？
I remember your last name, you're Takano.
高野美代さんだよ。
Mio Takano, alright.
村の診療所に勤めてる。
That's right, she's the
圭一
nurse.
くんは健康そうだから、あまり病院のお世話にはならないかな。
I generally avoid going to the hospital unless I have a reason to.
せっかくお知り合いになれたんだから、今度病気か何かできたら、ちょっぴりだけサービスしてあげようかしらね。
What does that mean? This lady named Takano-san, I kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we'd passed each other in the street a few times, but I was pretty sure this was the first time we'd talked. Well, this is Hinamizawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. I glanced at Takano-san and saw she had a bag and a camera.
ひょっとして二人とも写真仲間ですか？あ、それで待ち合わせを。
仲間でなんてとんでもない。素人の私に二郎さんが優しくてほどきをしてくださるだけなのよ。
Alright.
ねえ。
あ、
You're trying to speak for your teeth there, son.
そんなことないよ。
That's not it at all.
高野さんは飲み込みが早いからね。僕の指導なんかなくても、実に自由に撮影をこなせよ。本当さ。
Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell which of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, they were certainly one couple you couldn't get tired of watching.
いよいよあさってが綿流しね。今年はいい写真が撮れるといいんだけど。
Oh boy, okay, festival's in 2 days.
明日の設営シーンからレンズに収めるつもりだよ。そういう準備風景からもお祭りの活力を捉えたいんだ。
Oh boy. Oh, I just remembered. There was some village festival called Tatarigoroshi or something the day after tomorrow, on Sunday.
ひなみ沢の守り神、お社様に感謝するため、古い布団を積み重ねて供養する、そんなお祭りでしたっけ？
あら、ご名答。
Yeah, she's the one who's like obsessed with the Oyashiro-sama.
前原くん、引っ越してきたばかりに
She's
しては
like, I'm
初
just
して
so
ね。
fascinated by all of these like torture rituals done for Oyashiro-sama. Ha 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 ha. I'm normal.
そう、お社様に感謝するためのお祭り。
Takano-san smiled somehow meaningfully, but didn't tell me what part of a festival to thank Oyashiro-sama needed to be laughed at.
やれやれ。高野さんは。
Yeah, this lady's creepy.
でも、どうだろうね、今年は。
I wonder who's gonna die this year.
二度あることは三度ある。
Very ominous.
そしてもう四度あったのよ。五度目がないと言える方が何の根拠もないと思うけれど。
I knew what they meant by their whispered exchange. On the day of Watanagashi, a freak death always occurs, which people call Oyashiro-sama's curse, and a disappearance occurs that people call being demoned away. These strange events had happened 4 years running, and Watanagashi, rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow, marked the 5th.
村の旧敵にたたりをなすお社様か。今年もあるとして、果たしてその矛を受けるのは誰になるだろうね。あ、僕はここに来るたびにちゃんとお参りしてお賽銭を入れてる。
Well, you don't want to pray to a demon. That's a very bad idea. You also don't want to donate money to demons. That's also a very bad idea.
僕じゃないことは確かだよ。
あらそう。
What's with that look? Oh, is that so?
近年のお社様は異邦人には特に厳しいって話よ。引っ越してきたばかりとはいえ、前原くんはちゃんとひなみ沢に住んでる村人だけど、二郎さんは毎年来るだけのただのよそ者。さーて、今年は見逃してもらえるかしら。
ひどいな。
Even if she's making this as a joke, she just joked that this guy was gonna get offed. Tomatake-san was the only one with a pained grin, but we were all smiling, me included. Really? Why is the ominous music playing? Oyashiro-sama, the one who used a curse to kill people involved with the dam construction project, one after the next. He killed the dam construction manager, killed Satoko's parents for supporting it, and the next year he even killed her aunt. If the demoning away was part of that curse, you could add Satoshi to the list of victims. As I thought about it, I realized that in the serial freak death incidents, the overwhelming majority had the last name of Hojo. Half of the deaths and disappearances had come from the Hojo family. The Hojo family lived here in Hinamizawa. Yes, they did. Let's skip this ever creepy music. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama punished and cursed them particularly harshly because despite that, they had been in favor of the dam?
サトコのおじが帰ってきたって話は
We changed the
聞いてます
music
か？
just in time for it to stop. Well, don't that figure. Takano-san, who had been enjoying a few words with Tomatake-san, was caught unaware by my sudden inquiry.
あ、ごめんなさい。今なんて？
あ、いえ、サトコの両親がたたり殺されて、おばもたたり殺されて、だったら順番的には次はおじの番かなって思ったんです。
Man, you're well informed.
去年のたたりでおばが無残な死に方をし、それに恐れをなして町に逃げていたやつですよ。お社様は確か村を捨てて逃げ出そうとするのは許さなかったですよね。
It's weird how much of a believer he is in the curse now. I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent, but those words, they just flowed out of my mouth without me thinking about it. Right. Oyashiro-sama's curse. I didn't believe in something so unrealistic, of course, but the fact was that every year unfortunate accidents and incidents happen to enemies of the village. Like Takano-san said just now, it happened 4 times. No one could say there wouldn't be a 5th.
ふーん。
Look at that! Look at that smile! She knows something! She knows something!
面白い説ね。確かに過去の犠牲者を見れば北条姓が多いのは事実。
She's a great idea! I'll kill him this year.
その延長として考えれば、今年は叔父が死ぬか消えるかする可能性は否めないわね。
もう 高野さんは
Again with the creepy laughter. Come on.
起こるかもしれない不幸を笑うのは良くないよ。
ごめんなさいね。
Why did they do oof 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 oof? Nobody laughs like oof 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 oof. Like nobody does that.
でもお社様のたたりは私のライフワークだし。
Takano-san gave off a mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her life's work was mysterious in its own right. She probably really liked an inexplicable supernatural phenomena or something. Or there's more to it than that.
高野さんはお社様のたたりに詳しそうですね。
Are we getting the info dump again?
どうでしょう。北条の帰ってきたおじがたたりに会う可能性は。
I'd say it's 92% 2RN.
あら何？そのおじさんを殺したくて仕方がないみたいね。
Listen, Takano, I need him to die, alright? like I said, guys, I do not in any way, shape, or form condone murder. Having said that, if the guy did get murdered, I wouldn't be upset.
そんなんじゃないです。
どうだろうね。
I'd say there's a decent chance Keiichi ends up killing the uncle himself. And if so, or it might be like all of the friends together, like the entire gaming club together, like kills him, and then we have to enter like a blood pact of like nobody tells anybody about this, or we're all in trouble. And then like probably Satoko and Rena go crazy, and then end up blabbing to somebody, and then we all go crazy, and then everyone dies anyways.
神様の気まぐれ次第だからね。
Oh, see, he knows what's up.
前原くん、サンタクロースの正体は知ってる？
I don't know why, but that line killed me. She said so seriously, like, do you happen to know who the true identity of Santa Claus is? Yes, his name was, well, actually, Santa Claus is a conglomeration of multiple people, some real, some fake, but the main one was Saint Nicholas, and he was cool. You know, if you look at the actual legend of Saint Nicholas, he was really cool. Where like he inherited a huge amount of money from his family, and he so strongly believed in like the biblical idea of like generosity and self-sacrifice that like he gave away all of his money, lived a modest life, and like anytime he got money, he would like donate it to people who needed it. And the whole like, oh, Santa goes down the chimneys was like a man had like I think 3 daughters. And he was poor and like he couldn't afford to marry off his daughters because he couldn't pay a dowry. So anytime his daughters were like old enough to be married, Saint Nicholas anonymously dropped dowry money down the chimney for them. And like after this happened 2 times, the like dad was like, "Well, it was gonna happen again." And like he kind of caught Saint Nicholas doing it the 3rd time, and Nicholas was like, "Yo, like man, like don't tell anybody because I don't want people to know I'm giving away money." He's like, I just that's between me and God. But then after Saint Nicholas passed, like. The legend came out anyways. It's really cool. He also allegedly punched someone at the Council of Nicaea for blaspheming the Holy Spirit. Again, not confirmed, but there are whispers. Huh? Okay, she's like, why did this guy just talk about Saint Nicholas for this much? I just got a strange question all of a sudden, and I couldn't immediately answer. Oh!
何？知らないの？
Alright, Takano, I see you. With your creepy What's with all these... Man, Higurashi really likes these, like, diagonally slanted CGs. Because they're like, this means that the video number will go right over her face! Darn it! And if I reverse it to the other side, the M logo will go over her face. I can't win!
パパよ。
Okay, I don't like you using that word.
みんなの家のパパ。
Technically, okay, to be fair, my parents never pretended Santa was real.
なんだ。
I always viewed Santa as like, oh, he's the mascot of Christmas, but
そういう意味ですか。
KG's what? Santa's not real?
そりゃそうですよ。どんなものの正体だって最終的には人間です。だってここは人間しかいない世界なんですから。
That's not true.
すべての現象は人間で解明できるはずです。
I felt like I put that somewhat strangely, but Takano-san was not as dissatisfied with that reply as I might have guessed.
あら、その年齢のうちからそれに気づけるなんてなかなかね。人間の世で起こる現象は すべて人間の都合で人間が起こす。では前原くん、もう一度尋ねるわよ。
Wait, are you saying that Oyashiro-sama's curse is caused by Santa Claus?
今度はサンタクロースじゃなくてお社様。お社様のたたりの正体は何かわかるかしら？
Honestly, I'm wondering that myself. Oyashiro-sama is either like this concept that has been made up by the village that like the head families are kind of keeping together, or at least one of them is keeping together. At the very least, the Sonozakis are part of this. I'm pretty sure Rika at least knows about it. And I don't know about the mayor, because we haven't really met him. Either that, or Oyashiro-sama is actually a real demon who is, like, manipulating people. Which I think that would be really cool if they had a real demon in this. Yeah, I know, like... I don't know if it's like an artistic decision or whatever, but yeah, there's so many CGs in this game where it's just, oh yeah, everything's diagonal. Oh, hot set. Oh, the presets are just number 2. Oh, okay. Takano-san took a step towards me and gazed into my eyes as she asked. Santa Claus was really the parents of every family's children. If lionizing that legend... Lionizing? Is that a word? Was a corporate tactic to try and profit during Christmas sales, then... What was Oyashiro-sama really?
あら、あなたが言ったのよ。
Also, what the heck is up with her? Her fingers are very unnatural looking. They're like way longer than they should be proportional to her hand.
ここは人間しかいない世界だって。
Like her fingers are like so much longer than the actual like palm of her hand. If you look at that, it's not natural.
すべての現象は人間で解明できるって。
She also doesn't have nails. Again, I shouldn't make fun of this because again, this is way better art than I could ever make in my lifetime. But still, sometimes if I stare at a piece of art for long enough, I'll pick up on stuff.
Keiichi-kun,
Okay, creepy lady.
ここだけの話だよ。
Keep this to yourself. But where Oyashiro-sama? If you got someone you want us to kill, then let us
高野
know.
さんはね、お社様のたたりをめぐる一連の連続開始事件をね、ひなみ沢の村人が何かの儀式に基づいて行っている人為的殺人事件でないかと見ているんだよ。
誤解しないでね。
Ooh, uh-oh. Oh, she has slightly narrower eyes. Oh, she looks really different in the original art style, but like in this art style, she's like, like actually looks kind of like
私はそれ
disappointed.
に至る教義や思想、文化を民族学的見地から研究することがライフワークなの。
Mm-hmm.
別に犯人が誰かなんてことには全く興味がないのよ。そこだけ勘違いしないでちょうだいね。
I could tell only that she was saying some crazy stuff. To use a food analogy, like you'd force feed a duck to be fattened, she forced her words down my throat. That's what it felt like.
そもそもそれを理解するためには、ひなみ沢村が鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれていた古代に
Yeah,
遡
we're
ら
getting
な
back
けれ
into
ば
some
な
of
ら
the
ない。
info dump from Chapter 2. Onigafuchi, the Demon's Abyss.
鬼と血を交わらせたと信じる犯人犯鬼の仙人たちが。
Takano-san, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began to speak of ridiculous matters. Tomotage-san realized she was overawing me and interrupted for me. How's it going, Mobius? Welcome. We're getting info dump on the creepy stuff that's happening. That dude is ripped. Yeah, this is Tomotage. He's the best adult male character in the game by far. Handsome and nice and not perverted. Which is a lot harder to get than you might imagine.
その話をいきなり圭一君にしても、ほら、彼も面食らってるよ。
Yep.
あら、そう？続きに興味があったらいつでも言って。
I don't want to ask you. You give me the willies.
前原くんくらいの年頃の男の子が好きそうな猟奇的なお話がてんこ盛りなんだから。
Well, I'm sure you do. You're a nurse.
ありがとうございます。
Thanks. Keiichi, you are so late for school
気
right
が向い
now.
たらそのうちに。
First he overslept by like 4 hours. Then he's like, kind of lounged about before like actually heading out. Then he took a long detour. Then he took another detour making this guy go to the shrine. Then he's like, oh hey, he's here with his partner, girlfriend, don't really know. Yeah, we'll talk to them. It's like, meanwhile, the police are being called and a missing person report is being filed. Takano-san seemed a little unhappy that Tomotage-san had rained on her parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Even so, it was still a very interesting story. That Oyashiro-sama's curse, which we thought of as strange freak deaths, were really homicides, perpetrated by the people of the village.
まあその
Well, we already know
常
that.
識 的
We
に
know
考
the
えれば
Sonozakis are
そうですよ
behind
ね。
that, because they have the whole torture bunker in their, building.
タタリなんかで人が死ぬはずない。誰かがタタリになぞらえて殺してるに決まってます。
そうね。それが誰なのかは研究しない方が無難ね。
高野さんは知ってそうですね。
She's like, I do?
証拠はないまでも確信を持っているくらいには。
あら、どうしてそう思うのかしら。
I just kind of felt it vaguely. It didn't seem like her extreme passion for this research would calm down just because these things were taboo, or because it was safer and easier. This person loved walking through the profound, forbidden abyss of risks and taboos.
それくらいにしなよ圭一君。せっかく助けてあげたのにまたお社様のたたりの話が始まっちゃうよ。
Yep.
涼しいうちに散策に行きたかったのにな。
Tomotage-san seemed a little disappointed not to be able to go on the date he'd planned since I had brought up a weird topic. Yeah, we kind of ruined his fun. But right now, there was something I wanted to ask, just for a little bit. And that was about whether Satoko's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. It's like he knows! If he was, then another miracle would happen just like last year. A terrible incident would happen again, but it would release Satoko from an unfortunate circumstance once more.
まあ、もちろんおそらくあの辺りの人たちが関わってるんだろうなっていう鬼ヶ淵村の歴史を研究していれば自然と至る必然的結末。
それは誰です？
What would I do if I knew? I asked that question to the other me deep inside, but I got no reply.
熱心ね。それを知ってどうするつもりかしら？
別に。
知ったらあなたにも危険が降りかかるかもしれないわよ。5年目のたたりはあなただったりして。
Oh no, we already had that. Twice. Takano-san, toying with taboo, gave a devilish, satisfied smile, as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. That voice doesn't really fit her. I think it fits her just fine. She's kind of creepy, so she speaks in that low, voice. She was probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like going along with her little game one bit.
偉そうな能書きでもったいぶってますが、高野さんだってよくは分かってないみたいじゃないです
Kichi's
か。
way more bold right now. I had felt a tinge of irritation at Takano-san's roundabout way of speaking, but those emotions escaped my mouth, like water flowing through a strainer. No, she gives me the willies. She also apparently faked her own death in the last chapter, in the last timeline, so I definitely don't trust her at all. Of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback by what I said.
あら、言ってくれるわね。坊やなのに長髪までできるの？意外に野生的ね。
Rugged Hank,
嫌い
that's
じゃ
me.
ないわよ。そういうの。
Okay, this is getting weird. Takano-san's tongue poked out of her mouth. That's really weird. And I was convinced that it was long, thin, and split in the middle like a snake's. Oh my gosh, is this woman a demon?
ならいいわ。教えてあげてもよくってよ。
Oh, alright.
でも教えてあげる前に3つ誓っても
Why
らう
do
わ。
I feel like we're about to make a deal with the devil?
私が何を教えても後悔しない。
I can't promise that.
口外しない。
I definitely can't promise that.
私が言ったなんて。
Nope. I'm not agreeing to
I'm
I'm not agreeing to any of those, Takano. If you know something, go to the police. I gulped firmly and nodded. You are an idiot. She sounds like someone just using sarcasm 24/7. Maybe. To me, it sounds like she's definitely sounds like she knows more than she's letting on. Tomotage-san made an exaggerated expression of distress and gave a dry, vague smile and lit a cigarette. No, dude, you were doing so well.
教えてください。タタリを下しているのは、タタる相手を選んでいるのは誰なんです？
And after I said that, I finally realized why I wanted to know. You cannot give me a to be continued after that, before they tell me who's behind it, or their theory of who's behind it. Come on, man! You can't do that. Oh, you're joking. So they don't even tell us. Or maybe Keiichi ran away. Or maybe the teacher found him here and is like, Keiichi, you are in a world of trouble. Many of my classmates were playing freely in the schoolyard. A few of them had just run out of the school building after putting on their shoes and tapping their toes to the ground. It looked like they had just finished eating lunch. From a time manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded. Shh! Don't let the teacher know I'm like 6 hours late.
大丈夫なんですか?
A few girls noticed me and came running over. It was only natural they were worried. You'd think if someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out the rest of the day.
まあ遅刻さ
How late did you sleep in?
気にしないでくれ。それよりサトコはどうだ？今日は来てるか？
The girls exchanged glances. I saw a thin shadow fall over their faces and knew the answer without needing to hear them reply. Satoko was absent today too. When all was said and done, after being out 3 days, she'd only come back for 1. And now she was out again. Who knew if she would come tomorrow?
でも、さとこちゃんから電話があったって先生言ってました。
I got lost. Oh, hey, I wonder who that is. Moby is playing Lethal Company.
風って言ってたよね。みんな家に帰ったらうがいをちゃんとしましょうって先生言ってました。
Does Shiapet Sensei know the truth? Probably not. Wait a minute, Shi Sensei. That's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you be more sensitive and catch on to the fact that your pupil is sending out an SOS? But, even if she did, there was nothing we could hope for. The most she could do was a home visitation. She didn't have any right to take Satoko from her uncle into safety. No matter the result, it would just end up like the public agencies, with a let's-wait-and-see attitude. It would just piss Satoko's uncle off, and her suffering would only grow deeper. Then, wasn't saying she had a cold the best option?
そうだな。みんなも風に気をつけろよ。もう行っていいぜ。昼休みはまだ長いぞ。
The girls excitedly scattered into the schoolyard.
ケイチくん!
Oh, hi, Rena. Rena was yelling out of the classroom window, waving her hand. A moment later, Mion and Rika poked their heads out, too.
ケイチまでお休みしましたから、とても心配しましたのですよ。
Oh, that's right. We should switch back to this art style now. There's some characters I like the console art style better for.
でもよかった。
But I feel like for these 3 here, I like the Steam sprites best.
顔色もそんなに悪くないし、とりあえず元気そう。
Although I do like how the mouths move on the console. I felt a little uncomfortable with her saying that I didn't look sick, but I didn't care that much.
どうしたの？寝坊？
遅刻は遅刻だろ。それとも電車の事故で遅刻したとでも言えば許してくれるのか？
Teacher, you know how I have to cross like 5 sets of train tracks to get to school? No. Oh, well, I do, and there was train accidents on all of them. Uh-huh.
寝坊？
Mion was being a bit persistent. Was she going to put her club president cap and scold me for being late? Well, maybe she didn't have it in for me, so I briefly stated that she was right.
まだね、お弁当あるよ。みんなで食べよう。やっぱりね、ケイチくんがいないと盛り上がらないよね。
What did you guys do before I moved here?
サトコは休みなんだな。
Even Rena, feigning cheerfulness, couldn't stand to hear that, and her face darkened.
朝、電話があったらしいよ。
That's true. Yeah, that is true. There was during last stream when I was picking out a thumbnail, I'm like, oh, I gotta get Rena yelling at us in the classroom, and I realized while Rena was exploding at us in anger, like Mion was kind of looking perplexed, and Rika was just to the side, like smiling at the whole time. I was just like, come on, Rika, this is weird.
風がぶり返したから、また休むってさ。長引くかもしれないって言ってた。かわいそうなので、みんなでお見舞いに行こうという話が出ていますのですよ。
Like Rika, like why are you like super happy here?
何言ってんだよ、リカちゃん。
Not pleased with Rika, wearing a wide smile as though it was a happy occasion, I threw cold water on her. Okay, well that's going a bit far.
サトコが風邪なんかじゃないことは 俺たちが一番知ってるだろ。たとえ冗談でも二度とそういう白々しいことを言うな。次は怒るからな。
Yeah, you didn't get mad this time. You just threw water in her face. Rika furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology.
圭一くんだけじゃないよ。みんな辛いよ。
俺だけが悩んでるなんて思ってない。
Yeah, I mean, nobody's perfect.
でもみんな何もできないのは本当だろ。
それはそうだけど。でも
I got the feeling that I would cause another fight if this exchange went on. So I apologized first.
ごめん、謝るから今の話は忘れてくれ。辛いのはみんなも同じだよな。ああ。
Apparently, in Japanese, to say it must be, you just go. It was at least clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams, too. They definitely hadn't stayed up all night thinking so desperately.
登校してきていきなりこんなこと聞いて気を悪くするかもしれないけど、ケイちゃん今日遅刻したよね。
Yeah.
さとこが今日欠席したこととは関係ある？
は？ミオ、お前何の話してるんだ？
ケイちゃんはたまにちょっとつ盲信なところがあるからね。
Sometimes.
今朝さとこと一緒にケイちゃんも休んだ時、さとこを家から連れ出してどこかにかかわった
No,
んじ
we
ゃな
were
いかっ
just
て
planning on
本気で
kidnapping
思っ
her.
た。
Easy for you to say. If I could have, I would have done that last night. None of them really had thought about how difficult that clear as day solution was. It's not a clear as day solution. I was up thinking all night, thinking until the night was brightening. And then, I concluded that I couldn't do anything of the sort.
バカかお前。人間一人かくまうなんてできるもんかよ。
そうだね、ごめん。気を悪くしたなら謝るよ。
別にいいよ。それより飯にしようぜ。
Eating often helps.
腹が減ってんだ。
I took my bento box out of my bag. Everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit.
前原くん、
Uh-oh, we're in trouble now. We made Best Girl angry.
今来たんですか？
Teacher, I was here the whole time. What are you talking about? And just as I was about to stick my chopsticks in, Chi-sensei came along.
あ、はい。遅刻してすみません。寝坊しまして。
Oh, he's just very honest with her. You know what? Point for Keiichi. What the heck? Even the teacher was giving me that strange look.
お弁当を食べたら委員長と前原くんは職員室に来てください。
Why does Mion have to go?
ちょっとお話がありますので。
Oh, maybe she knows. Probably about Satoko, I thought. Or about your academic underwhelming performance. Sensei left it at that and went back out into the hallway.
弁当を食うまでもないだろう。行こうぜ、ミオ。
そうだね。
Mion and I exchanged looks, nodded to each other, and got up.
さとこちゃんの話だろうね。
No doubt about it. They were saying she had a cold, but everyone in class knew the truth. I didn't think that wouldn't have reached the teacher's ears by now.
僕がずっととぼけるので、僕に聞くのをやめたのでしょう。
Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Was that why she hadn't said anything? Or was it because she was Satoko's friend, and knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home?
どうする？
I don't think Satoshi is coming home, though.
今のうちに私たちなりの統一見解を出した方がいいかもね。
リカちゃんはどうしたい？
I don't either. Maybe Keiichi's very smart academically, but has no common sense. Because that absolutely can't happen. Like myself, I was a very good student, got very good grades, but I am often lacking in the common sense department. I know I criticize when I play video games. I often criticize the main character. Who are like, "Why did you do that? You're so stupid." But I'm like, realistically, I've done stupider things.
み
Oof. Satoko's closest and best friend was Rika. However much I pretended to be her Nini, it didn't come close to the amount of time they'd spent together. So I felt like her opinion should be held in the highest regard.
俺は聡子がどうしておじにいじめられてるのを耐えてるか知ってる。
Everyone looked startled and turned to me. You don't know that. That's just what creepy coach suggested as a possibility.
昔の聡子はいじめられるときっと泣きながら兄の背中に隠れてた。でも結局そのせいで兄が逃げてしまったんだと
Mion, that is not the appropriate reaction to be having to this right now.
聡子は思ってる。
誰に聞いたのかな。
Okay, Mion, just like, oh, this is better than television. Okay, there we
監
go.
督か。
She's like, only a creepy coach would say that. I nodded quietly.
聡子はおじのいじめに耐えれば兄が帰ってくると信じることによって今を耐え抜こうとしてるのかもしれない。
I don't see much logic in that. Like, oh, if she just hangs on, eventually he'll come back. Like, why? If he knows that she's being abused, he'd come back or he wouldn't. It's pure and simple.
でもそんな思い込みとサトシが帰ってくるのは全く無関係なことだ。
Yikes.
聡子には悪いがそれが現実だ。
Everyone hung their heads. Everyone was thinking the same thing.
聡子は多分誰の助けも喜ばない。自分一人の力で耐え忍びたいと思ってる。でもそれを尊重してやるのが果たして正しいだろうか。
But I can barely even hear that new piano music.
俺は思わない。一時聡子に恨まれることになろうと聡子の意志にかかわらず助けるべき時があると思う。俺はそれが今じゃないかと思ってる。
I told them all about what I saw and how I felt when I went to Satoko's house yesterday.
圭一君は話すべきだと思ってるってことだね。
もちろん公的機関への通報で聡子が保護されるのが確定してからだ。その確認のないうちは聡子をかえって危険にさらすこともありえるからな。
We gotta be smart about this.
難しいね。先生との会話の中でその確約ってのが取れるわけ？
I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Rika had her hand raised for a while, as if asking for an opportunity to speak.
圭一に任せますです。
いいのかいリカちゃん。
Now Mion reacted to that. She's like, are you crazy? Have you heard half of the stuff he spews? This is not a good idea.
圭一はここにいる誰よりも聡子のことを考えていますです。その圭一が話すべき時だと判断したなら僕は文句なんか言わないのですよ。
ありがとう。ミオンもレナもそれでいいか。
Mion seemed to hesitate, not knowing if she should agree. But when she saw Rena's firm nod, she made up her mind and did the same.
よし行くぞミオン。
Oh boy. This is not going to be an easy conversation. Only Chia-sensei was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see Principal anywhere. The schedule on the blackboard under the principal's name said, training, going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was too strong. Satoko's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck that he wasn't here. When the teacher saw Mion and I come in, she closed up her curry bento, saving the rest for later.
そこへおかけなさい。
She told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing the paperwork for transferring in. The two of us sat there uncomfortably, before the teacher walked over carrying a notebook and a ballpoint pen and sat in front of us.
前原くん、今日は午前中お休みでしたけど、何かありましたか？
I don't know why Mion is here if she just wants to talk about that.
すみません寝坊です。
本当に？
She's like, you overslept 6 hours? What were you doing?
先生に嘘言っても。
She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. Now I was sure of it. She wanted to talk about Satoko.
まず、二人とも知ってると思いますけど、 お友達の北条さんがここしばらくお休みしてますね。
Teacher's over it. She's on it, not over it. Teacher's over all this. She means business. No, she's on top of things. Neither Mio nor I had anything to say in response. But the teacher proceeded, not minding.
何か知っていますか？クラスで良くない噂をしている人たちがいます。
Mion looked down and remained silent, as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. Everyone had made up their minds. They'd be leaving things to me.
委員長、前原くんも。先生は別に怒ってるんじゃありませんよ。もしも知っていたら教えてほしいとお願いしているだけです。
She's a real winner.
先生、先にこっちから質問してもいいですか？
She must not have anticipated that response. She looked surprised.
クラス中で聡子のどんな噂が飛び交ってるかは知りませんが、仮にその噂が真実だったとして先生はどうするつもりですか？
どうするもこうするも、その話が本当なら放っておけません。
放っておけないって具体的にはどう放っておけないんですか？
Sensei's eyebrows shot up. Maybe I said it like I was trying to pick a fight.
前原くん、先生は真面目にお話ししてるんですよ。
先生こそ、俺はすごく真面目な話をしているんです。まず答えてください。真実だったとしてどう放っておけないんです？
Sensei took a few breaths, then began to speak slowly.
まず状況を確かめるために北条さんの家を家庭訪問します。
おじに怒鳴りつけられて追い返されるかもしれませんね。まあいいや。仮におじと聡子に会えたとします。
She's like, what about Uncle? They're spreading rumors that Satoko was just playing hooky. What's this about her uncle? Oh no, she didn't know. Oh no.
そして真意を聞きます。その事実が確認できたなら指導
って曖昧な言い方はやめてください。具体的には何をするんですか？
Even despite my tone being so provocative, Chia-sensei bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought then that she was a good teacher. Chia-sensei really did have her students' best interests at heart. But she didn't have the power or the authority to save Satoko. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation could get more complex. Sensei folded her arms, and for a few moments she closed her eyes as though mentally concentrating. And then when they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before.
児童福祉法という法律があります。この法律で児童に対する虐待は何人に対しても認められていないことが明記されています。
Amen.
らしいですね。それで
沖宮の生活相談所へ通報します。さっき前原くんは追い返されると言いましたね。この相談所の職員は必要に応じて警察官を同行させることができます。恫喝には絶対に屈しません。
その福祉士というお役所の人は連絡して書類で申請して何日後に助けに来てくれるんです？
即日です。彼らの仕事は児童の安全を緊急に保護することですから。
知ってますよ。緊急性があると判断された場合ですよね。認められなかったら先生と同じ指導をして様子見をするんですよね。見てるだけ。聡子のおじの機嫌を悪くして聡子をその場に残したまま、それっきり。
ケイちゃん、ちょっと言い過ぎ。
嘘はついてないだろ。去年だか一昨年だかに児童相談所が来た時がまさにそうだったんだろう。その結果どうなった？俺よりもミオンや先生の方がよっぽどよく知ってるだろうが。
I had said too much. I didn't need Mio to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure we could save Satoko, but I basically told her everything from the start. Chia-sensei looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's seat.
もしもし、内線の3455をお願いします。いいの？ケイちゃん、本当に大丈夫かな？
Alright, let's go, teacher. It was too late. The die had been cast. Now we could only pray.
あ、お世話になっております。ひなみ沢文庫教諭の千恵と申しますが、指導室の渡辺主事はいらっしゃいますでしょうか？
I thought that was Dr. Wannabe at first. No, Dr. Watanabe.
はい、ええ。 ちょっと急用がございまして、至急校長と連絡が取りたいのですが。はい、お願いします。緊急とお伝えください。
Come on, guys. Principal is our pal. He's gonna help
よろ
us
しくお
out.
願いします。
Clearly. The teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back and took a deep breath, like I always did.
二人にもう一度だけ聞きます。クラスのみんなの噂は全て本当なんですね。
Your teacher is my favorite character
はい
now.
俺は昨日聡子の家に行って実際にどういうことになっているのか
I
見ま
wish
した。
I wish everybody could have a teacher who is as good as Chi or whatever her name is.
あとは先生に任せてください。聡子ちゃんはきっと先生が何とかします。
なんとかいい加減なことを言わないでください。
Keiichi, just stop being a prick, okay?
なんとかじゃない。絶対でなければならない。もしもまた様子見なんてことになったら。
Excuse me,
先生は
that's
どう
the
責
phone.
任を
Can
取
you
るつも
please
りです
shut
か。
up? I need to answer the phone. While I was yelling, the phone rang. Chi-sensei snatched the receiver up first. Were you trying to pick up the phone before her? That would be bad.
もしもし。あ、研修中申し訳ありません。
It's Principal.
はい。実は例の北条聡子さんの件でお話が。
Why is this dude yelling at girls? It's because he's okay. It's probably because it's taking inspiration from anime, and that's what they do in anime. They just yell all the time. But yeah, this guy, he's a very emotional guy, kind of a drama queen, and he just cares really deeply for his friends. But also, yeah, he could be a bit much.
はい。
Sensei waved us away, telling us we could leave now. Mion went to leave, but I held my ground. I had a responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. That is not your responsibility, and you're being a tool right now. If it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, then I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her. No, you're not doing that.
はい。いえ、まだ相談所には。はい。まだ確認はしていませんが、クラスの子の話では相当な様子です。
相当なんてもんじゃないぞ。すぐにだ。今すぐ何とかしろ。
Keiichi, this is not helping.
通報するならどこへだっていい。でもな、もしも様子見なんてことになって
Keiichi,
みろ。
just shut up
た
already.
だじゃ済まさないからな。
I yelled angrily at Sensei and the principal on the other end. Oh, he's not going to be Principal anymore. You just made Prince an enemy now. I wanted to somehow, some way, convey to them just how dangerous her situation was right now.
それは分かっています。
Keiichi, shut up! I'm on the phone!
ちゃんと伝えますから。委員長、前原君を連れて教室に戻りなさい。
あ、はい。行くよ、ケイちゃん。あとは先生たちに任せよ。
絶対だぞ。
Keiichi, will you please stop being such a prick? Until the very last moment, I glared at Sensei. Chia-sensei was feeling pressured by the likes of me. Idiot. This isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when you need to give me a firm nod to reassure me. Even so, we've already left things in your hands. At this point, we really can't do anything but pray. Bang! Mion shut the door to the teacher's lounge. I feel better. I am much more confident in the teacher's ability to help things out than Keiichi's. Because Keiichi, well, he's got a few screws loose. New tips unlocked! Article! And stats from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. I can't wait to read article. Influence asked for help from a grown-up. We probably should have done that first. But no, Keiichi had to be a drama king. Alright, let's read article. Article 2. Definition of child abuse. The term child abuse means the following acts committed by a custodian, meaning a person who exercises parental authority, a guardian of a minor, or other person who is currently engaged in the custody of a child. Hereinafter, the same shall apply. Against a child, meaning a person who is under 18 years of age. Hereinafter, the same shall apply. 1. Assault the child in a manner that will cause or is likely to cause external injury on the body of a child. 2. Engage in indecency against the child or cause the child to engage in indecency. 3. Substantially reduce the amount of food for the child or abandon and neglect the child for a long time period in a manner that may interfere with normal development of the child mentally or physically, or otherwise materially fail to perform the duty of a custodian. Or 4. Speak or behave in a manner that would significantly be traumatic to the child. Article 3. Prohibition of child abuse. No person shall abuse a child. Thank you. I'm so glad we needed that explained to us. Law number Act number 82 of 2000, offered by the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Did we really need that? I'm sorry, if you don't know the definition of child abuse, why are you playing this M-rated game? Just wondering. Year 19 redacted. Principal abusers in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Mother by blood 2,943, 55.0%. Mother not by blood 203, 3.8%. Father by blood 1,445, 27.0%. Father not by blood 488, 9.1%. Year 19XX. Oh wow, so most often it's by your biological mother is how abuse happens. Instances by type of abuse in cases reported by the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Physical abuse 2,780, or just over 50%. Neglect, abandonment of child 1,728, 32.3%. Psychological abuse 458, 8.6%. Forbidden from going to school 75, 1.4%. Sexual violence 311, 5.8%. That is a way too high number. That is 311 higher than it should be. Okay, I don't like how they lingered on that last one and had the creepy music play while she was on screen. That has some very unnerving implications. Oh, if it's going that far, oh, this might be getting even really, really dark. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but it seems to imply. Why else would they play the musical stinger there while she was on screen? Oh no. Okay, again, I don't want to incentivize murder. But if that much is happening, if someone, like, if Uncle was actually doing that to Satoko, and someone killed him right in front of me, I would look the other way. You know, like, I'd be like, I see what you did. I won't tell. Not saying I'd do it myself, but, you know, some people deserve to die. This is just what I'm saying. And I feel like we can all get behind that's a pretty good reason for that. Anyhow, we're moving on. By the way, hi Ruben, you arrived at a very uncomfortable time. Let's continue. The die of fate had been cast. Reporting to a public agency, which we kept being warned could instead result in something far worse for Satoko if we didn't have the evidence first. And just like that, had I failed? Had I let my emotions get the better of me in that moment? I don't think so. I think you did the responsible thing. Is murder a justifiable action? Murder? No. Killing? Potentially. Because again, murder is the taking of an innocent human life. But if a human does something that deserves the death penalty, and you take matters into your own hands because the law will not, I think that that's justified. And honestly, again, I feel like most people, if there's somebody who is sexually abusing someone that they are supposed to be guardian of, I think most people would not be unhappy or like take issue with them dying. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I remember the punishment game where we had to badmouth Curry and how me saying anything would have made it worse, and Satoko told us to leave the talking to her. Maybe it was the same thing here. I was impulsive, so maybe I should have just shut up and looked at the floor. But it was too late to lament it. The die I had thrown wouldn't be coming back into my hands. All we could do was pray for something good to happen.
圭一君は圭一君にできる精一杯をしたよ。だからあとは先生たちに任せよ。
Leave it to the adults, who are wiser than you are.
ね。
俺にできる精一杯。本当に俺が死に物狂いに精一杯だったら 里子を夕べのうちに連れ出してどこかの廃屋にでも隠れて。
That wouldn't work.
そうならなかったってことは俺は精一杯じゃなかったってことだろ。
もう考えるのはよそ。圭一くん、少し根を詰めすぎだよ。
Exactly. Yes, you are.
そんな調子じゃ圭一くんまで倒れちゃう。
Just leave me alone. I left her with those words and I stared lazily up at the ceiling. I wondered if I had really got Shay-sensei to understand. Would the public agency intervene and solve everything within the day? Would they acknowledge the abuse and guarantee her safety? After lunch break, our afternoon classes were mostly self-study. Again, I don't know how we can't have people come forward and testify. Like, we have so many people in Hinamizawa who can testify just like, hey, this uncle literally abandoned her for a full year. Even if a lot of them are... Okay, even if a lot of them are like, I don't like the Hojos because they were for the dam project. But, like, there's no way every adult would do that. I know not every adult is going to literally let a child be abused rather than, like, come to their defense regardless of how you feel about her family. And even then, we have her friends who can verifiably testify, like, yeah, she was living with Rika for a year because her uncle was on a booty call. I don't know why we can't just get that testimony and be like, okay, yeah, here we go. He's a neglectful parent. Get him out. At least now that we've committed, like, hey, even if she hates us for doing this, and even if she, like, is kind of wanting to endure the abuse, like, it doesn't matter. Like, we've collectively agreed to do our best to stop it. I don't know why we can't do this. But no, Keiichi trying to kidnap her. No, that's reasonable. After the lunch break, our afternoon classes were mostly self-study. The teacher came back to the classroom occasionally, but then the phone in the lounge would ring and she'd have a long conversation with the caller. Everyone in class got the feeling they knew what those phone calls were about. Sensei came trotting back from the classroom.
今日は何度も電話で本当にすみませんでしたね。では今日はこれでおしまいにします。
Woohoo! Best teacher ever!
委員長、号令。起立。
It looked to me like Sensei had been wearing a dark expression ever since lunch break. I wonder why. It wasn't a very relieving expression. It wouldn't be. Even if Sensei 100% understood the situation and passionately explained it to the other person. At the end, the Child Consultation Center, as a public agency, would be the ones to decide whether to get her to safety. Sensei understood that as well as us, and that's why she looked so unreliable right now.
ケイちゃん、帰ろうよ。部活する気も起きないでしょ。
みーちゃん、部活は誰がかけても面白くないよ。
Rena was right. It was no fun for us if someone was missing. If the teacher's expression had shown more promise, then maybe we could have gone home more comfortably. But I couldn't let myself feel relieved. No, teacher is... I like teacher! No, teacher's great! I couldn't be naive and tell myself all I can do is pray now that the dice have been cast. Just in case they didn't get her to safety and decided to wait and see again. I needed to take further measures. We've asked people who could do something official already. Then, there was one more place that was worth asking for help. She might laugh it off. Or I might be right, and I could be endangering my own life. But, I'd try.
あ、ミオ、今日さ、お前の家に寄ってもいいか？
Is he gonna talk to Takano and be like, hey, make it happen? Or like, Mio, hey, make it happen. Is he gonna go to the person who he thinks is responsible for the killings, just be like, hey, I got a job for
漫
you.
画かなり持ってるんだろ？少しまとめ狩りしたいんだけどな。
いいけど。
There was an ominous meaning behind my words, so Mion realized what I really meant right away. I am not familiar with that case, no. I wanted to talk about something alone. That's what I meant.
みーちゃん、圭一くん、早く帰ろう。
Rena already had her shoes on and was waving to us from the schoolyard. Whoa, oh my gosh, light speed to Endor? That was instantaneous. Just like all of a sudden, man, those 7 league boots are really working out. Mion's house was gigantic in every imaginable way. The house itself was a vaguely old-fashioned, traditional Japanese house, but the yard, I guess, or their plot of land, was enormous. It easily convinced me that they really were major landowners, with Hinamizawa under their thumb. Under your thumb, goof? Oh no, not this room. I don't like this room, after Chapter 2. Mion brought me through the guest room, and a servant brought us some tea.
へえ、さすが金持ちだな。お手伝いさんなんか雇ってるのかよ。
私とバッチャしか住んでないもの。私だけじゃやってけないよ。
We haven't met Grandma yet. I feel like we're going to at some point. The servant left, telling us that it was 5 o'clock, then withdrew with soft footsteps.
週に2、3回ね。バッチャの世話とか掃除の手伝いで来てくれてる。3、4人がローテーションで入ってくれてるんで、大抵毎日誰かがい
Just
て
out of
くれるよ。
curiosity, which days are there not servants?
夕方までだけどね。あ、宴会とかがあって人手が欲しい時にはベッドに呼んでるんだけどさ。
You've been in this room. Congrats, or I'm sorry. This I now associate this with the terrifying Chapter 2 ending. If you had the money to hire all these people, then just take Satoko in. I glared at her as if I thought that, and Mion seemed to catch on immediately.
ごめん。
いいよ。金の問題じゃないことは分かってるからな。
先に言っとくけど、うちはお
Is
金
this
持ちかも
literally
しれ
just
ない
because
けど、
her grandma's like, I hate the Hojos, we're not having them in the house?
私に自由にできるお金は全くないんだからね。
Because Mion's not in charge of the family, her grandma still is.
そこだけは誤解しないでほしい。
It kind of looked like I was bullying her. Mion had been apologizing to me a lot lately. Was Mion the sort of person who would do that this much? Maybe it's just I've been looking so grim lately.
でさ、何？ケイちゃん、なんか話があったんじゃないの？
ミオンにかなり本気な話がある。
Because again, Takano told us who she thought was responsible for the killings. We didn't hear it. We, the audience, didn't hear it, but Keiichi presumably did. So maybe she's like, I'm pretty sure the Sonozakis are behind it. So is Keiichi going to be like, look, Mion, I think your family's responsible for these killings. Can you put him on the hit list this year? This is going to be an awkward conversation. Also, we had like a 50% chance of dying for asking this.
突然な話でミオンは面食らうかもしれないが聞いてほしい。
何？
あ、先に逃げ道を渡しておくな。
Oh, interesting.
仮に本当だったとしてミオンはそれを認めてくれなくてもいい。しらばっくれててもいい。だけれど最後まで俺の話は聞いてほしい。鬼ヶ淵村御三家の今や筆頭家、その次期当主の園崎美音に話がある。
Okay, so maybe the reason we didn't hear what Takano's theory was because we kind of already did in Chapter 2, and they didn't want to tread up all of the old plot dump since we don't need that anymore. Okay. At first, Mion looked like she had no idea what I was saying, but at hearing the whole sentence and putting it together, she reacted.
どこで聞いたの？
それは関係ないことだ。
It absolutely does. I definitely couldn't tell her who told me. Takano-san, you told me not to, but please forgive me. This is why I asked you about it after all.
ケイちゃんが鬼ヶ淵村の名を知ってることだけでも驚きだけど、私についていろいろとあることないことを
I
知
like
って
this
そうだ
piano
ね。
song, though. Very good.
ああ、あることない。俺が勘違いしてるだけなのかもしれない。でもそれでもいいから聞いてくれ。そしてもしも本当なんだったら。
ケイちゃんが何の話をしようとしてるかわからないけど、話す前に釘を刺すよ。とにかくケイちゃんは大きな勘違いをしてる。だからできるなら私はケイちゃんの話も聞きたくない。
Interesting. I mean, Beverly Hills Hollywood breeds a lot of, not great parenting, I'll just say that.
聞いても何も叶えてあげられないからね。でも話すことでケイちゃんの肩が少しでも軽くなるなら聞くよ。
Wow, this is really good music.
本当に聞くだけ。何も起こらないよ。
That's rough. But yeah, I see the parallels.
それでもいいね。
あ
Mion seemed to know what kind of thing I'd be talking about. She warned me that doing so would be fruitless. That much was obvious. If what I was going to say was true, then the Sonozaki family would be the masterminds behind the string of freak deaths that had been occurring every year in Hinamizawa.
お社様のたたりってあるよな。
Mion nodded a little.
正体不明。なぜ起こるのかも不明。個々には解決しながらも、全体で見れば不可解な連続開始、連続失踪事件。でも、一つだけ共通することがある。それは、必ず村の旧敵が標的に選ばれること。
みたいだね。
Mion spoke as if it didn't relate to her. That was fine. She didn't have to admit it. For now, I just wanted her to stay quiet and listen to me.
あさってだろ、綿流し。
Yeah, Watanagashi.
今年のたたりの犠牲者ってさ、もう決まってるのか。
Have you already chosen a target? Mion didn't answer. Her expression remained the same, too. Like she said, she was just quietly listening.
あ、ごめんな。聞いてるだけって約束なのに、質問しちゃ変だよな。
Oof. Oh, that's horrible. Mion gave me a look she'd never given me before. A faraway look. A sympathetic one. She didn't nod. She just smiled faintly and listened to me.
もしも、今年のたたりが、里子のおじじゃなかったなら、
Wow.
里子のおじに変えてくれ。
Okay!
だって、去年は里子のおばだろ。順番から言えば、決しておかしくはないだろう。
Well, it's weird though, because in the first two chapters, it's always been Toмотake who dies and Takano who is demoned away. But then right after this festival, there were more deaths. In chapter 1, it was like Keiichi and Rena and Mion all died. And then in chapter 2, it was like literally every single person except for Rena died. And possibly Mion / Shion. I'm still not entirely convinced that it was Mion last chapter that went crazy.
そうだね。そういう順序もあるね。
第一あいつ、去年のたたりでおばが死んだ後、里子を放り出して丸1年、町に逃げ出してたじゃないか。そんなやつ、もろにお社様のたたり確定じゃないかよ。今年のたたりに選んでも不足はないはずだぜ。
そうだね。今年のたたりであいつが死んでも、多分みんな納得するね。
俺、聞いたんだ。お社様のたたりってのは、その。
No matter how I looked at it, I wasn't sure whether I should continue. No matter how I tried, the words wouldn't come out.
ひなみ沢連続開始事件、通称お社様のたたりは、園崎家が主導で御三家が起こしている村ぐるみの事件だでしょ。
別に俺はそれにミオンが関わってるとかそんなのには興味がないんだ。ただもしもそういうたたりを決めている連中に渡りがつくなら、里子のおじをたたりに選ぶように言ってほしいだけなんだ。
This is probably supposed to be a very dramatic moment, but I'm just like, he's basically just asking Mion to have her family connections off this guy. And she's just like, I'll listen.
ケイちゃんの言ってる内容はさっきから本当にひどいこと。
True.
ひなみ沢連続開始事件が園崎家主導の事件なんだとしたら、それじゃあ
Or your grandma.
私がたたりを決め指示をし、何人も殺めて消したことになる。
I mean, like, we know you were definitely part of it in chapter 2. You were, and or your twin.
ケイちゃんは私を人殺し呼ばわりするんだ。
だから言ってるじゃないか。ミオンが連続殺人の主犯だろうと無関係だろうと、
Well,
俺はどうでもいいんだ。
you should. You definitely should. This is like the equivalent of like Twilight, where like Edward is like, I've killed people before, and Bella's like, I don't care. It's like, why don't you? And for those who are wondering, I have not seen Twilight nor read Twilight, but I did watch a hilarious series of YouTube videos about a therapist and about who watched Twilight, and it's like, this is the most toxic relationship ever, and it was hilarious.
たとえミオンが殺人犯だって俺の親友であることには何も関係ないじゃないか。それでも全然構わないんだぜ。警察に追われたら助けてやる。お前のアリバイを作ってやるし、逃走だって助けてやる。仲間で親友だからだ。
I would help you get away with murder because we're friends. It's like, you're either a great friend or a terrible friend.
そうだろ。
Mion looked surprised for a while. She was dumbfounded.
いきなり共犯宣言？ケイちゃん、かなり大胆だよそれ。
いいから話の腰を折るな。
Stop screaming, Keiichi. She's calm. You don't have to scream.
佐藤のおじを今年のたたりに。
ケイちゃんストップ。そろそろご飯の準備をしたいから、今日はこれくらいにしたいんだけど。
You know, Keiichi, it's been great talking to you, but I gotta make dinner. You can borrow some manga.
ミオン。
Then I realized that my cheeks were wet with tears. They slid down my chin and fell, drip drop on the tatami mat.
最初から言ってる通り、ケイちゃんは大きな勘違いをしてる。お社様のたたりはお社様のたたり。たとえ人間の起こした事件であったにせよ、それは園崎家とは、ましてや私とは何の関係もない。
Bet on it. You have a torture bunker in your yard. You think I'm gonna just believe that?
それは分かっているさ。
Even the music doesn't believe this.
だからケイちゃんの必死の訴えには胸を打たれるけど、私が叶えてあげたくても叶えてあげられない。それもわかるね。
It's a good thing Reno wasn't here. Reno's like, wow, you're taking a long time to choose the manga, Keiichi.
でもケイちゃんの気持ちは痛いくらいに分かったよ。もしも本当に私がケイちゃんの言うように御三家を操って毎年の犠牲者を選べる立場にあったなら。
Yeah, I like how each new arc, like, you have the music from the previous arcs, but then they also add in a couple new tracks. So yeah, like, the newer songs like this are gorgeous. And I still like the old tracks too, but, like, that really low, like, the dun 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 dun, like, the really creepy, I really like that song, but I think they do use it a bit too much when they don't need to. They should save it for the really creepy moments.
きっと私はケイちゃんの願いを叶えているよ。
ミオン。
でも現実は違う。私はただの園崎ミオン。確かに園崎家は
No,
いろい
Ren is
ろ
a
な意
great
味で
character.
悪い噂を持ってひなみ沢を影から支配している一族だけれども。
Ren is one of my favorites. Partly because she's like a very sweet and like, I don't want to say like down to earth character because she's very weird, but like she can be both like the crazy person and the straight man when it calls to her. And also, she is by far the creepiest character when she starts going crazy. Like, she's way creepier than the others, which is always great. Because you're on your toes. Like, one second she's, like, just being very sweet. The next she's like, are you, like, lying to me? It's like, okay, just stop with the reptile eyes.
連続開始事件とは何の関係もない。ダム闘争では確かに少々過激な抵抗もしたけれど、それ人殺しなんて大それたこと絶対にやらないよ。
Mm-hmm. I don't believe you, because you have in chapter 2.
そんな悲しいこと言うなよ。せめて今だけでも。
Keiichi's, you know what's gonna happen? There's gonna be Keiichi's gonna be walking around and just like saying out loud loudly to everybody in nearby, just like, man, I don't know who's behind Oyashiro-sama's curse, but you know, if they did have to pick a target this year, I mean, this guy would be a great choice. I'm just saying, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just like he says that to everybody, so he's like, worst case, whoever's behind it's gonna hear it, and maybe they'll do it. And then you'll get arrested for saying creepy things in public.
嘘でもいいからうなずいてくれればいいじゃないか。
Really? Royalty, copyright-free music. Wow, that was good.
ケイちゃん、夢を見るのは勝手。私がここでうなずいてみせれば、ケイちゃんは、サトコがあさっての夜に解放されると信じて、 肩の荷を下ろすことができるんだろうけどね。
3 to 4 years. Oh yeah. Honestly, I might be moving away from YouTube and like content like that in the near future. I still have several Let's Plays I want to do, and like I do like streaming, but I'm also in my late 20s, and there's stuff in my life I want to accomplish, and I feel like I'm spending so much of my life just recording, editing, streaming, uploading, so... But I do definitely want to complete Higurashi, so, you know, worst case, either we'll just do that gradually over the years, or maybe I'll just record it all and upload it periodically, intersperse it with our Ace Attorney videos that we still have a backlog of.
でも無情にも聡子の叔父はあさっての夜も超える。来週になっても再来週になっても居続ける。
Wanna bet?
それを覚悟してね。私は綿流しの次の日に
Yeah.
殺さなかったなんてケイちゃんに詰め寄られたくない。
Can you at least tell your grandma, okay? Like, if she's behind it, I want her to know I'd approve of this target. Mion stood up slowly and closed the sliding door to keep out the wind that had grown chilly.
ミオさんかな。ケイちゃんにそんな話を吹き込んだのは。あの人、ひなみ沢をいい感じに誤解してるからな。まあ、本人が一人で楽しんでる分にはいいんだけど。
She'll be gone by tomorrow.
ケイちゃんを感化するのはいただけないな。やれやれ。これだからよそ者は。
高野さんは関係ないからな。
Oh, you know her! So she was the one who told you.
はいはい。でも安心して。仮にミオさんがケイちゃんに喋ったと分かったって、別にどうにもならないんだから。
It was Jerry. Jerry told me. Who's
別に
Jerry?
ミオさんが今年のタタリに選ばれるわけじゃない。そもそも今年もタタリがあるかどうかなんてわからないよ。
What if just nobody dies this year? No, we wanted someone to die
あ
this
んな
year.
の不幸な偶然がただ積み重なっただけなんだからさ。
Sometimes the real horror is realistic.
聞いてくれてありがとな。もしもミオンが連続事件と何の関係もなかったら
I got news for you. Even if she was
本当に不愉快
connected,
な
that was
話を
going
し
to be
た。
an uncomfortable conversation.
謝っておくな。
そうだね。謝っておいてくれるかな。
Mion said she didn't have much time, but she still brought me to the gate. Yeah, she didn't want us getting lost and finding the torture bunker by accident. She said she had a meeting or something today about Sunday's Tatarigoroshi festival, so there would be a lot of people from the town council and the festival committee coming. Despite her day being so busy, she still listened to what I had to say.
天に神様がいるならさ。
I mean, I have a couple theories. I don't know which one is true. I ever think there is actually a demon out there who's not necessarily doing things on his own, but is like influencing, possessing, or manipulating people to do it. There might be multiple demons. If it is just there's no real demon, then I'm guessing there's some conspiracy at work where there's multiple different pieces that are either working separately or together. So it's either like a giant conspiracy, or it's like, oh, there's like a bunch of people that are like all kind of doing it, and like they're looking the other way. So like, the Sonozaki family is definitely part of this. We saw in Chapter 2 they have this whole torture bunker that was being used, and they killed a bunch of people. But at the same time, I definitely don't trust Takano because she faked her own death, and she's also like telling about all these really creepy things. Shion is probably part of it too. And at the same time, whenever people go crazy, one thing I keep trying to remind myself, whenever people go crazy, they start hearing noises that no one else can hear. And it's often like, either, like, because I think in Chapter 2, like, Shion and Tomotake, who both went crazy, could hear, I think, like, someone jumping up and down in the shed that nobody else could hear, or like a thumping sound and that nobody else could hear. And then in Chapter 1, when Keiichi was presumably going crazy, he kept hearing someone, like, say, I'm sorry, over and over again. So, like, that's also weird. So, there's something there, too. I don't know. I feel it... I don't think we have enough pieces to be able to find the whole truth yet, but I'm trying to, like, mentally figure things out, but I don't do a great job explaining my thought process for a lot of these.
きっとケイちゃんの強い思いは伝わるから。
ああ、 今日は変な話をして本当にごめんな。今日の話はなかったことにしてくれていい？
忘れておくよ。
じゃあ明日な。
バイバイ。
Bye. I had only really spent a short time with Mion. Talking to her made me think. It was clear that what Takano had told me, at least, wasn't a complete fabrication. If Mion was really, really unconnected to the incidents, then she probably wouldn't have listened to me so quietly. She heard me out until I was done without making any quips, and I wanted to think that was proof. I did kind of feel like I was grasping at straws. Of course, thinking back on it, it was a terrible thing to discuss. I mean, I went to my friend's house, called her a serial murderer, and then told her to kill Satoko's uncle. I was the only one talking that whole time. Mion quietly listened to everything I had to say like a pastor listening to a confession. She could have gotten angry partway through, told me off, and told me to go wash my face in miso soup and then come back later. But she didn't. Was that proof that Mion's family, the Sonozaki, were the masterminds? Or was she just listening because she felt sorry for me going kind of crazy? I remember that, but wasn't he also hearing that voice too when he was doing home run practice on Mion and Rena? I seem to remember that. Or was he just saying I'm sorry? Maybe I was getting those two confused. Partly, I'll be frank. Whenever I go into a new chapter, I go and look up spoiler-free summaries of the previous chapters, just to remind myself of the stuff that happened. I make sure they are spoiler-free, so I'm not getting spoiled on future stuff. Just because, if I only do this once a year, I'm going to forget some of the details along the way. So, that's how it goes. I didn't know which it was. I don't either. I feel like there's... Or maybe it's each timeline there's a different mastermind, but that would be a little weird. It was the one effort I could make at the moment. It was another form of insurance. Should worst come to worst, and the public agency decided to wait and see. It was a completely useless resistance, literally grasping at straws. Sensei said that if she reported it to the Child Consultation Center, they'd have to respond on the same day. Could they already be in the middle of responding to it now? If Satoko came to school tomorrow morning all energetic, then everything would be just a needless fear. Why couldn't tomorrow come faster? Well, to be fair, if Satoko gets saved tonight, she's not probably going to school tomorrow. Because she's probably going to end up going to a different town to where there's an orphanage, because she'll have no legal guardians here. That night was unusually hot and humid, and I couldn't get to sleep. Probably because you stayed up till 3:30 and slept in till 10. So you're probably just not that tired. I said all that to Sensei. He couldn't possibly decide to wait and see again this year. Satoko, what was it like for her tonight? Had she tasted the end of her nightmare, enjoying a night of liberation? I actually put my hands together and prayed into my futon. Alright, well, let's see.
おはよう、ケイキくん。
Hey, Rana, good morning.
おはよ
よかった。今日もお寝坊かと思ったよ。
I was gonna climb in through your window and bust through your window and wake you up if you had.
昨日はおばさまには先に行ったって言われるし、学校には来ていないし。
Oh yeah, that was
途
weird.
中で日射病で倒れちゃったのかなって心配してたんだから。
No, this is not Earthbound. We did not get heat stroke.
う。へいへい。
Heat
昨日は
stroke.
心配かけて申し訳ございませんで
That's
した。
different. Heat stroke. Heat stroke is when your brain shuts down because you eat way too many heat bars all in a row.
ヘイ、グッドモーニング。
Hey, serial murderer. I mean,
みーちゃん、おはよう。大丈夫？なんかすっごく眠そうだよ。
そういえば昨日は遅くまで町会の人が集まっての打ち合わせ
I
会だったんだ
swear, if Miona's like, yeah, the meeting was late because we had to make a lot of changes to the preparations, that's gonna be hilarious.
打ち合わせ会なんて名ばかりの宴会だよ。毎年やってるお祭りだもん。 今さら小難しい打ち合わせなんかないし。
Like, I get it. You can't have the whole thing be thoroughly depressing start to finish. You need some levity.
今日の午後はやっぱりお祭りのお手伝いに行くのかな。
うん。バッチャの代わりにいろいろ挨拶しなきゃなんないし。
Alright, Mio, get over here!
それにね、祭りってのは準備からもう始まってるからね。
Does that mean you're playing hooky? Our morning conversation was lighthearted as usual. It looked like Mion had thankfully forgotten about how I'd barged into her house yesterday with that crazy talk. There's no way that she forgot. She's just being tactful. Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, that's probably what it is. The more I think back on it, I felt like I'd really said something terrible to her. I was really thoughtless, and it wouldn't have been weird if she had yelled at me. It was highly possible Takano-san had exaggerated her story. To think that our comrade and friend Mion, the young leader of the Sonozakis, one of the three families effectively controlling Hinamizawa, was pulling the strings behind the serial death incidents was a little unbelievable. I don't think so. But if there was even a 1% chance that it was true, then what I said yesterday to Mion might have been a success. Yeah, it was no more than 1 in 100. But that little bit of effort might have brought the chances of saving Satoko up by even a tiny bit. At least I'd made that effort. After yesterday ended, I was sure I'd done everything I possibly could. If there was something else I could do, it was probably just to clap my hands and pray that Satoko's uncle would be killed by the curse.
サトコ、今日は来ているという
I
の
would
は
probably just pray that social services would actually, get Satoko out of that household.
そうだね。
Because ideally, I'd much rather that her uncle reform than die. I don't know how likely that is to happen, but, it could.
先生がいろいろと手配してくれたんでしょ。うん、きっと大丈夫だよ。
ひなみざわ地区の民生委員が私のおばさんなんだけどさ。
Oh, really?
ゆうべ電話して聞いてみたよ。
へえ、みーちゃんのおばさんって
Mio knows a few
先生
guys.
委員さんなんだね。それでさとこちゃんのことなんて言ってたの？
うん。先生があの後直接県の児童相談所に電話してね。
Good for her.
児童福祉士が夕べのうちに訪問したらしいよ。私のおばさんにも今後定期的にアプローチするようにと連絡があったって。
Thanks for joining in, Ruben. I appreciate it. Great chatting with you, and have a fantastic night. Sleep well.
小難しい話はいいよ。それよりサトコはどうなったんだよ。保護されたのか？
おばさんはそこまでは知らされてなかったみたい。本来はこういうのって秘密だからね。おばさんが私に話してくれたのも十分に倫理違反なんだしさ。
Yeah.
くそ、かえって不安になったぞ。
行こう、学校に。
Right. Discussing this more would just make us feel worse. It was far quicker to go to school and see if Satoko was safe or not. Again, even if they took her away, I don't think she's going to school today. They probably have to figure out what they're going to do with her. Alright, we ran off to school. Was Satoko safe? What measures had the Child Consultation Center taken? I didn't care what. As long as we could go back to our peaceful life with Satoko today, it didn't matter to me. As the shoe rack at the entrance, Rena took a peek inside Satoko's shoe cubby.
あ、さとこちゃんの靴あるよ。あれ。
ケイちゃん、さとこは来てるよ。よかった。
来てるだけじゃわからないだろ。
That's true.
サトコの顔を見るまで何もわかるものか。
We trotted towards the classroom. The classroom was lively, as it usually was in the morning.
サトコ、どこだ？
みー、
Hi,
ここ
Rika.
にちゃんといますですよ。朝っぱらから騒々しいですわね。
There she is. She looks alright.
少しはお静かになさいませ。
We've never killed people. Yeah, that's a lie. There's definitely a lie.
さとこちゃん、大丈夫だった？
All of our friends crowded around Satoko excitedly.
保護士来たんでしょ？どういう話になったわけ？
呼んだのはどなたですの？まったくどんな騒ぎでしたのよ。
先生だよ。あれだけ欠席すりゃ心配もする。
Satoko said, I told you I'm fine under her breath. She was still trying to overcome all the suffering on her own.
私もおじさまもとんだ迷惑でしたのよ。
急にあんなに人に押しかけられて、もう。
Well,
みんな
that
さと
probably
こ
didn't
ちゃん
go
の
well.
こと心配してたんだよ。迷惑だなんて言わないで。
ああ、もうとにかくそれでどうなったんだよ。
どうもこうもしませんわ。
Why are you smiling when you say that?
風邪が治ったから学校に来ただけのことですのよ。
Oh, great.
これからは
Well, I can't
あん
say
ま
I'm
りお休みし
surprised.
て心配をかけな
It
いよ
would
う
be
にしないとい
really
けませんわね。
anticlimactic if that's the way it ended. What was Satoko saying?
おじさんはどうなったの？ええ、多少誤解があったことを認めて二人でごめんなさいをしまして。
Tug. Rika grabbed the back of my collar and pulled me away. She's like, I already know he's about to explode.
なんだよリカちゃん。
She's like, I know you're gonna freak out and say something bad. Rika silently dragged me all the way into the hallway.
リカちゃん、あれはどういうことだよ。
さとこは何でもないと言って追い返してしまいました。
Yeah, Rika knows.
バカ野郎！なんで？
No. Somewhere in my mind, I thought it might turn out like this. Satoko didn't ask for anyone's help, and she didn't hide behind anyone. She was trying to ride out this pain. She wanted to show Satoshi proof that if he came back to them, she wouldn't need to hide them behind him anymore.
だけど監督に聞いた話じゃ、保護士ってのは本人の意思に関係なく緊急保護をすることができるんだろ。いくら聡子が虐待を否定したって虐待は事実。
Chia-sensei finally came. Her expression was far from cheerful. Yeah, I wonder why.
前原君の言う通り、児童福祉士は緊急性があると判断すれば、
But
職権
but
で
they
緊
but
急
they
保護
didn't
をするこ
determine
とが
that.
できます。当事者の意思に関係なく。
じゃあどうして聡子の意思が変に尊重されて保護されないことに？
それに沖宮の相談所もいろいろ検討した末にそういう判断を。
なんだよそりゃ！先生、昨日あんた絶対に助けるから大丈夫って言わ
Man,
なかった？
Kate, yeah.
これはどういうことだよ？
I appreciate how much he cares, but man, he'd be such a pain in the butt to interact with.
圭一、実はさとこの児童虐待の通報は
The third
過
time.
去にも2回あったのです。
古田さん、
Sensei tried to stop her, but Rika went on speaking anyway. Rika don't care.
過去に2度？一昨年の冬に通報して様子見になったって話は聞いてるが、その前にもあったのか？
Do they think someone's like pranking them?
さとこの死んでしまったお父さんは
What?
さとこの本当のお父さんではないのです。
Then who is her real father? Darth Vader?
リカちゃん、それが
I'm stunned at the sudden revelation. I had no idea what Rika-chan wanted to tell me, but it seemed really important, so I couldn't get in a word in either.
さとこのお母さんは再婚なのです。さとことさとしはお母さんの連れ子で、お
Oh,
父さん
so
と
are
は
they
血
not
は
related
つな
by
がってい
blood
な
to
かっ
their
たので
Uncle
す。
Ivor? Satoshi was a good kid, one who listened politely to what adults told him. He was immediately welcomed by their new father and was loved. But Satoko was different. She was rebellious, she told lies, she played pranks. Her stepfather didn't like her at all. Oh no.
つまりどういうことだよ？
Oh, if Satoko called that as a prank, that's
さと
bad.
こはおじ夫婦に預けられる以前の家族の時もあまり良好な家族関係ではなかっ
Dash
た
could
のです。
complicate things too. Of course, her stepfather didn't have any malicious intent at the start. At first, he must have worked real hard to get his new daughter to accept him. But the young Satoko didn't make any effort at all towards that end. She was distant towards her stepfather and never opened her heart to him even a little. She just got on his nerves all the time, with seemingly forced lies and pranks. Her father's discipline and punishment must have been loving at first, of course, but that too faded quickly. Oh no!
私はその時はひなみ沢にいなかったからよく知らないけれど、
no!
昨日電話で初めて知りました。
Oh, was she abused by her stepdad too?
先生が聞いたのはどんな話ですか？
さとこちゃんが両親、特に義理のお父さんを陥れるのを
Oh
目
no!
的
Oh,
に
okay, so it
嘘
wasn't
の
what I originally
話を
thought. She
作
made
っ
up a
て
false story.
自分で生活相談所に電話して
That's... so they think it's a boy who cried wolf situation.
自称と作り話。
聡子は嫌いなお父さんを追い払うため、嘘の電話をしたのです。
Oh, you don't do that. Child welfare officers rushed there and heard the story. Her father genuinely apologized for a few times when he had gone too far and agreed to let the child welfare center give him coaching.
いろいろと関係機関が調べた結果ね、ギフと聡子ちゃんの心のすれ違いに原因があることは分かったんだけど、それ以上に聡子ちゃん自身に問題があることが分かったの。
聡子に問題って何です？
Satoko's mother, there were a few times where she had lived with de facto husbands, though those relationships didn't result in remarriage. Oh, I see. From a young age, Satoko had been forced to call at least 2 or 3 people her father. At some point, Satoko's pranks escalated. She would spill food on purpose, turn over her plate, and even throw it. She would break the windows in the neighborhood and shoplift candy. Okay, that's not a prank. Those are crimes. She would put thumbtacks everywhere and set other traps to seriously hurt people. Is that why she's trapping the mountains all the time? Not in the way she did now, just to get laughs. She was also fond of telling lies that would be found out right away, and people got mad at her every time. Well, she sounds like a real gem. But she never ever changed her behavior.
聡子ちゃんのことを問題児なんて思わないでね。
I mean, it sounds like it.
これは幼い聡子ちゃんが母親を知らない男に取られまいとして取った自衛的な行為なの。
Don't buy it. In regards to Satoko's problematic behavior, child psychology experts from public institutions indicated her actions were to draw her mother's attention to herself. I mean, it makes sense why you wouldn't want your mother to remarry, especially if you don't like the guy. Like, I get that. Doesn't excuse the behavior, but like it does explain it. They acknowledged that she had a form of harmful emotional trauma and declared that she needed counseling and therapy from professionals. That's not unreasonable. They didn't know whether that therapy had healed the wounds in her heart.
聡子ちゃんはわざと体に傷を作り、
Okay,
お父さんに
if
虐
she's
待を受
okay,
けて
so she's not even just like it's one thing
自
to
分で通報してお父さんを追い出そうとした。
it's one thing to call and be like, hey, my stepdad's abusing me. It's another to intentionally be like hurt yourself, leave marks, and be like, my stepdad did this. Like, jeez Louise.
結局聡子をいじめてたわけだろ、そのギフは。
いいえ、虐待の話は全部聡子ちゃんの作
Dear
り話だっ
Lord.
た。義理のお父さんはもちろん少し感情的な叱り方をしてしまったかもしれないけど、
No,
しているほどではなかったの。
Yeah, if you're a child, or not even child, if you're like, if the person who you're kind of the guardian for, stepchild, child, or whatever, is hurting themselves and then calling CPS being like, my parents doing this to me, you need to have some, again, like, a stern talking to at the very least is needed there. Like, there's something seriously wrong that needs to get, the bottom needs to get down to that. Satoko had lied to chase away her stepfather, and they saw through her right away and found out that Satoko had issues.
ひょっとしてそのせいで一昨年の冬は様子見に。
はい、児童相談所にちゃんと昔の記録が残ってましたですから。
That's why you don't falsely report stuff, because then if it really starts happening, they're not going to believe you.
聡子の嘘の可能性もあるから慎重にということになりましたのです。
なんだよそれ。つまりなんだよ、聡子は嘘をつくかもしれないから。
Yes, I mean that's true. Because you don't want to leave the child in an abusive situation, but you also don't want to like falsely arrest parents who aren't abusive.
だから
It's all about
様子を見
the
ろ
balance
って
is
ことに
impossible to get.
なってるのかよ。
Yep.
狼と羊飼いさんなのです。
Yeah, exactly. That fable about telling a lie once, making others unwilling to believe you later. Yeah.
ふざけんなよ。
Well, it makes sense.
昔のことなんか全然無関係だろう。
Yeah, it does.
今現在起こっている事実だけが重要なんだろうが。聡子はおじに虐待されている。どうしてその事実が昔の出来事で歪められなきゃならねえんだよ。
Neither Sensei nor Rika had anything to say to that. That's because you're just freaking out and not listening.
とにかくそれを慎重に判断するために
How do you know this, Rika? Were you there?
訪れましたのです。
And Satoko dealt with them, put on the best, strongest smile she could manage, and denied the abuse. Of course, she was probably being threatened to keep quiet about it by her uncle. Satoko was trying to outlast everything without asking for help. Satoko wanted to wait for Satoshi to come back home, and she outright denied the truth of the abuse. What an idiot! What? You're not really enduring it. Do you really think pretending like this will actually bring Satoshi back? Just stop it already. Satoshi, he abandoned you. And the fact that he hasn't shown up to save you now is proof, isn't it? So just stop it. Please stop being weird and pretending to endure it.
今した話はいいですね。他の子に喋ったら先生怒りますからね。
You don't make teacher mad. Chi-sensei gave me a warning, then left to go back to the teacher's lounge.
圭一、聡子のことをかわいそうな子なんて思わないでくだ
I'm
さ
not
いです。
thinking that. I'm just thinking she has some issues, but... yeah, this is a sucky situation.
聡子はしっかり生きていますです。聡子は
そんなの分かってる。俺たちのかけがえのない仲間だ。
Keiichi, you don't have to scream every line you say. Good lord.
聡子は
Oh, see, even Rika's tired of this. She's like, okay, will you just shut up? Yeah, look at it. Like she's like, you will let me have. She look at that frown. She's just like, you suck. I'm freaking 11 and I'm being more mature about this than you are.
もう少し見守ってあげましょうです。
That's ominous.
相談所の人が今後も定期的に訪問すると言ってるのです。大変なことになったらすぐに助けてくれますよ。
If something terrible happens while they're there.
大変なことになった後だろ。
Any more than that would have sounded like I was picking a fight, so I firmly swallowed my next words and went back to the classroom. Mion and Rena were talking to Satoko like they always did. It was a silly conversation. A humorous, even fun one, like it was any old day. If Satoko really said she could still endure it, then maybe I should do as Rika said and watch over her. Maybe whatever help I offer will just go unwanted. Yeah, Rika's being more mature about this than you are, Keiji. Then again, Rika's more mature than a lot of us, I think. Let's go!
お昼でございますわね。
Yeah, lunch!
5人揃ってのお昼は久しぶりだね。やっぱりこうじゃないとダメだよね。
Let's go!
まったく同感同感。ほらほらケイちゃんも机寄せて。
It's lunch! It's the most wonderful time of the day. Satoko brought her own desk over as well, grinning broadly. Even knowing nothing had been resolved, this exchange was pleasant, and made me remember how fun it used to be.
いつまでもリカにお弁当を作ってもらっては悪いですわね。いいのですよ。聡子のお弁当を作るのは僕の楽しみなのです。
That's what allows me to make experiment food. Rika's such a good girl. Having such a good friend must be so reassuring.
僕に大きなハンバーグを入れて、聡子には焦げたのを入れて。
Yep.
聡子だけかわいそうでみたー。
Wow. I take it back. Well, she's Rika after all. Oh, that kooky Rika!
見て見て。今日はほらオムライスなんだよ。マッシュルームとか美味しそうだよね。だよね。はう。
Mushrooms are pretty
いつも
bomb.
ながらお見事なお手前でございましたよ。いつお嫁に行ってもおかしくない腕前ですわね。
Okay, well, we're not encouraging people to become wives when they're like 15 or 16.
お嫁を食べると。
Those better be two separate phrases, not one there, Rena.
レナにお嫁は NG ワードだね。
Oh, I'm
今
so
控
sorry.
えるように。
ほんのちょっぴり反省しましたよ。
ところでミオンの弁当はなんだよ。
What did you bring for what? Bread and
今日
jam
は
again?
また趣が違って期待大だな。
おじさんはまったりと夕べのおかず詰め合わせね。
Cool. I mean, if you don't like it, you can always trade. I'm sure you can trade them to Albert. He'll love them.
煮物がいい感じなんだよ。
You brought stew for lunch?
ほら、大根の色
Are
は
you
た
gonna
だ
like
いいで
heat
し
it
ょ。
up, or is it cold stew?
美味しそうなのです。
煮物は一晩寝かせてからが真骨頂だな。
Are they eating cold stew?
これはかなりいけそうだ。よって聡子の分はなし。俺が全部食って感想を聞かせるから黙って見てろ。
Alright, Keiichi.
なんですって？私の分もおよこしなさいな。
Elbow punch, headbutt. I'll use my knees too. Okay, see, that's a little too close there, Miss Satoko. Oh, she's not that close in the main art style, but she is in this one. Let's go, everybody.
密着距離まで入れば私の有利は動きませんわね。ケイチさんの分のお大根が実に美味しいですわ。
Whatever, I don't even like daikon.
ちくしょう。バトル開始時から密着でいきなりコンボとは無念。
This little exchange, how long had it been? I don't know. It looked like they'd end up going to the wait and see approach, but maybe her uncle had realized he'd gone a little too far and would dial it back now. If her treatment improved a little, would that be a good thing? Satoko was grinning wider than I'd ever seen as she chomped down on her mouthful of the daikon she'd plundered from me. Did it really taste that good? Jeez, oh my gosh! Why are you jump scaring me when now she has empty eyes? Satoko was somewhat cute like that. And just as I'd done many times, I grabbed her head and started petting it. Well, that's weird. Oh. Catch. Smack, flip, flop, chatter, clatter.
さとこちゃん？
What was going on here? It was so sudden that for a moment I don't know what had happened. Wait, what did happen? What did happen? The back of my hand was stinging. I went to pet Satoko's head and then she hit my hand. Yeah, maybe because you're being weird.
どうしたの、さとこ。
Satoko was scratching at her head, as though a pimple or something had appeared on it and became itchy. Oh, did we touch her head and it was bruised? It was so sudden and so unprovoked that I didn't understand what had happened.
どうした聡子。
At some point, her body had been covered in a thin layer of sweat, and her breathing had turned ragged. When I pet her head, did she not like it? Was that what it meant? Probably.
お前頭撫でられるの嫌いだったっけ？
As a general rule of thumb, yes, girls don't like it when you do that to them. Once again, slowly, I held out the palm of my hand and brought it close to Satoko's head. I'll just do it again. That'll make it better. The instant of the palm of my hand touched her head, there was a shock like static electricity, and Satoko began to howl. Uh-oh. Jeez! Uh-oh. She grabbed my arm in both hands, and as if flinging off a snake trying to cling to her, as if trying to throw away something dirty, she threw it violently. It happened too suddenly for me to react. I hit the desk behind me, and both it and I fell to the floor. The classroom fell deathly silent. As Satoko bellowed, it sounded like she was in the throes of death, and she unsteadily backed away. Well, jeez! Well, this is messed up already. Oh my gosh. Empty eyes, tears, the likes. Oh, that one actually looks fairly normal. Alright, I didn't think it was that big a deal. Then she threw up the food she just, she vomited it all back. Splish splat. Okay, jeez Louise. Okay, so she is violently ill. Jeez Louise, what's going on?
具合でも。
Are you okay? I see you just threw up all the contents of your stomach. You seem sick. I guess they didn't give a sprite for that. Okay, I won't do that again. I reached out a hand and... Why would you do it a third time? You are so stupid, my gosh! He's like, okay, so let me see. I tried to pet her head, and she smacked it away. And then I did it again, and then she started screaming and threw up all her food. So then, of course, I decided to do it a third time, and I can't believe that didn't work out. My gosh, like, there's stupid is as stupid does. With such extreme strength, I fell on the floor again. Satoko put both of her hands on her head as though protecting it, groaned some more, and then took a few steps back. And then she began swinging both hands around. Students in nearby seats were forced to evacuate. She grabbed anything within reach. Bento boxes, chairs, threw them, tossed them, and flung them about.
ちょっとやめなよサトコ。あんたどうしちゃったの？
Uh-oh. It's all coming out. Literally. She screamed out as if Mion's words had caused her physical pain. No one spoke a word to her. All the students were withdrawing behind us, leaving Satoko alone in the corner of the classroom. Around her, there were desks and chairs all over the floor. Bento lay scattered. It was terrible. All I could hear was Satoko's ragged breaths and the voices of the cicadas. Stupid cicadas, shut up! There's no need to apologize. The strains of tension loosened around Satoko, and maybe she suddenly grew scared of her own actions because she started trembling and gave a word of apology. But nobody knew just who that apology was directed towards. And, for now, I decided to answer as everyone's representative.
いや、そっちこそ大丈夫か？
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Uh-oh. Dana, her voice actress is doing a great job, though. Our words didn't match each other at all. Satoko hugged her shoulders, and back she went. She ran into the locker with the cleaning supplies in it. Even that made her give a little yelp. The impact caused the bucket atop the locker to fall, and making a loud sound, and that scared Satoko most of all. She almost jumped out of her skin, grabbing a bunch of the curtain in her hands. Nobody spoke to her. They could only look, not even remembering to blink. Jeez Louise.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。私じゃないです。私じゃないです。
I don't think things got better for her after calling the cops. Satoko, what on earth? I stood up, took a step away from everyone, and approached Satoko.
何があったんだ？
だから私知らないです。私知らないです。違うからもう嫌です。やめてください。許して
Yikes!
落ち着けよ、サトコ。俺がわかるか？
もう嫌だ嫌です。
Well, this is uncomfortable. Every time I took a step forward, she grasped the curtains more tightly and cried out.
サトコ、俺だよ。ケイイチだ。わかんないのか？お前に危害なんか加えない。だから落ち着けって。大丈夫だ。俺はお
I
前
don't
の
think
味
her
方だ
mind
って。
is here right now.
助けて。怖いのやだ。気持ち悪いのやだ。
This is tragic, and I just want to point out, this is still a better timeline than Chapter 2 for her, where she was brutally tortured to death by Mio Shion. Yikes. Suddenly, my shoulders were grabbed, and I was dragged backward. It was Rena.
ごめん、ケイイチ君はちょっと後ろに行ってて。
After pulling me back, she ran towards Satoko in my place.
大丈夫だよ、さとこちゃん。もう怖いことなんかないよ。ほら、安心して。
Keiichi, leave this to a woman's touch.
やだ。もうやだ。
This is going very dark.
ニーニー。助けて。ニーニー。助けてよ。
Jeez. As she gripped the curtains and kept calling for Nini, she continued to wail about being forgiven for something and to be saved from something. What is this? Mio gnashed her teeth and groaned, and there were tears falling from her firmly closed eyes.
どうなってんだよこれ。
What the hell is that?
昨日で全部終わったんじゃないのか。
Where's Rika in all this? Is she just has if anything a psychotic grin on her face?
今日からまた元の生活に戻っていくんじゃないのか。ミオミオ。
Rena is literally the only one with her head on her shoulders at this point. Crash! There was a crazy sound. Hey, it's crazy! Rena had taken the cleaning supply locker and kicked it down to the ground. Everyone stood surprised at Rena's unexpected act of brutality. After that, Rena embraced the bawling Satoko from behind and started crying with her stifled.
レナ、どうした？
The locker was being rude.
ごめん。ケイチ君、ちょっと黙ってて。
Kichiku, with all due respect, please shut up.
今のはなんだよ。どうしたんだよ。サトコから何か聞いたのか。
Did you not hear her tell you to be quiet?
何を聞いたんだよ。
Why are you screaming after she told you to be quiet?
サイナー
Yes! Thank you, Rena!
黙ってろって言ってんでしょ。
Yes! Thank you! Rena's raw, hostile emotion hit me like a brick. It was no more than a momentary howl of emotion from Rena, but it was more than that for me. She had shown me what was behind all that emotion, what was in her heart.
サトコちゃん。やだやだやだやだ。もうやだやだやだ。許して。何もできなかった私たちを許して。
Yikes.
ごめんね。
Forgive us for being unable to do anything. Rena's words made me feel as though the blood vessels in the back of my head were suddenly all turning to ash. My vision grew distant, blurred with gray, and the world lost its color. I thought we could save Satoko. But, though I knew I'd be sooner the better, I thought there was no time limit for doing that. I never even dreamed that we could be too late. I'd been making a huge mistake. I thought Satoko could be hurt, but never that she'd break. It was such a huge mistake! People, they break, thinking that they don't, is absolutely absurd. We needed to save Satoko. We needed to save her before she broke. That fatal lapse in awareness had brought this on. Whose fault was it? That went without saying. Mine. No, ours. I'm pretty sure it's her uncle's, actually. We all took on the duty of saving Satoko, but we were negligent to the point of laziness. Not really! Like, the instant you knew about this, you were like, we have to do something right now! And if you don't do something right now, you're a terrible friend and I hate you! And, like, you made it, like, maybe one day trying to think of something, then told the teacher. And you're like, we were too slow! I get it. Like, guilt complex, I get it. But in that case, this was the inevitable result. Even if this didn't happen today, and it happened tomorrow, or the day after, or the next week, we would have just sat around doing nothing until that day. So this was the obvious result. I slumped down to my knees, just as Mio and Rika had done. Oh no, Rika's kind of probably crying as well. And I, too, closed my eyes tight and couldn't stop myself from sobbing.
何の騒ぎですか？
Excuse me, teacher, don't slip in the vomit. Oh yeah, did anyone clean up the vomit?
ちょっと何があったんです？
The teacher came, and her face screwed up at the terrible spectacle before her. The instant she realized the teacher was here, Satoko went through another complete change. She wiped her face with the curtains, and like nothing happened, smiled.
北条さん、これは一体何事ですか？
Jeez Louise.
ちょっとレナさんと喧嘩になってしまっただけですのよ。
I don't understand this girl.
お弁当をめぐってちょっぴり大暴れなんですの。
Why is there vomit on the floor?
ね。
Rena didn't nod in reply. But then, since Satoko wished it, she nodded without strength. The rest of the class couldn't keep up with her extreme changes. We all had just stared in a daze.
ちょっと悪ふざけをしただけなんですのよ。
Jeez, she's either like really, really good at hiding her emotions when she wants to, or she's like the mother of all actresses.
皆さん、度肝を抜かれすぎでございますわね。
Satoko would probably sweep the whole thing under the rug. For what? Her heart is torn to pieces. So what? What else? You wanted your needy to help, didn't you? But, unfortunately for you, Satoshi doesn't ever intend on coming back. I don't think he has a choice in the matter. It's never that easy. He won't just conveniently show up and save you. So, you don't have to wait for him anymore. You can cry, beg for help, and you can run away. Whoa!
私たちが無力だから。
We gotta call Batman at this point. Batman will take care of things. So I hear that you're making little kids cry. Mion suddenly said. She spoke then, those few words that had tormented me countless times. Those words were a spell, and when I heard them, my whole body suddenly regained its calm. My emotions all slipped away like they'd never been there, like a wave departing. And then, the world's cover flipped inside out. What is... What is this song? This is giving me Homestuck vibes. My field of view expanded. My head grew remarkably cold, and I felt like my mind's volume had grown even wider than the classroom we were in. At that time, my soul was doubtlessly no longer in the small, petty vessel of my head, but floating in the air a little bit above it. It was a mysterious feeling of release. I broke free of the cramped confines of my skull and stretched out my roots in all directions, as far as I wanted to. Is he ascending? It was a strange feeling, and one I'd never felt ever before. An odd sense of exhilaration. My sharpened senses caused me to transcend! My mind was sharper than a knife's edge, and I immediately decided that spending the time to let myself be crushed with grief would be an absolute waste. I erased all the garbage information from my brain. I don't like where this is going, because I'm guessing his interpretation of garbage information is not my interpretation. I expelled the pointless emotions presenting obstacles, excuse me, to action.
ミオ、お前は呪ってろ。自分の無力さをいつまでも。
え？
If I could have taken back what had happened by crying about it, I'd have cried all day. But the fact was, this was how things had turned out. I couldn't take back what had happened. The top priority then would be to prevent the situation from worsening further and to sever the chain of misfortune. I mean, that is a good mindset. We can't change the past, but we can't do anything about the past, but we can do something about the future. However, where he's going to take that to, I don't know. Until today, I'd been looking at the things so narrow-mindedly I could scarcely believe it. To save Satoko, the only thing to do was to save Satoko. That's the only thing I thought about. I didn't allow myself to realize the most basic, direct, and certain way of removing the source of Satoko's unhappiness. No. Actually, I realized it yesterday. Oh, no, he's going there. He's going to be like, I just have to kill Uncle Tepe. But as for the means, I'd relied on some stupid curse from some dumb deity. I never considered carrying the task out myself. Yep, that's exactly what he's doing. Okay. I would obliterate Satoko's uncle. There were plenty of ways to do it. There was a task that had infinite methods. Oh, okay, so he's going crazy. Lovely. Well, how about you pull an Angelina ballerina and lure him into a large body of water? Ironically, the method of saving Satoko required mostly money, but the method of killing that man pretty much took no money at all. I can't believe how casually he's just like, oh, of course! Murder! Again, I would be more upset about him for this, but given what we know about Tepe and what I'm insinuating by reading between the lines, again, I'm not condoning it, but I'm not going to stop him. I won't try really hard to stop him. I could kill him with the least amount of investment. The least amount of money suited him. It was only the weight of his life. This is... Yep. Yep. It is interesting, for sure. I kept eliminating needless, worthless information from my head, replenishing it with only the knowledge I'd need to achieve my goal. I used every cell in my brain to think about how I'd kill him. The way I killed him didn't matter. I would allow any method, from whatever time and whatever country, as long as it ended in a quick and certain death. If I were to have an additional condition, it would be to not get caught. Removing him was an act designed to return the peaceful times we had with Satoko. If I arrested him in exchange for the removal, then we might as well have killed each other. With only him gone, we'd go back to our normal lives. That was my supreme objective. My ultimate goal. Kill him, definitely. But definitely don't leave evidence behind either. Well, that's just common sense. Don't worry, Keiichi, I've played a lot of Ace Attorney, so I know all the dumb ways that people can get caught with stupid evidence. That's true. That actually is true. That's true. He definitely... I definitely brushed past that, but yeah, you're right. By talking to Mio, and he was definitely, like, demanding murder. Wow. Two alternatives at odds with one another. The condition of not leaving a trace back to me automatically narrowed the number of murder methods. No witnesses was an absolute must. Fortunately, given the right time in Hinamizawa, there would be nobody around. I mentally reconstructed the land around Satoko's house. It's a good thing I took a screenshot of this yesterday. The number of pedestrians different at different times, the movement algorithm of the neighbors. Would I lure him out or charge at him? What would my weapon be? When and where would I carry this out? Where? It needed to be somewhere I wouldn't leave a trace. When? It needed to be as soon as possible for Satoko's safety, without wasting even a millisecond. This is absurd. Completely absurd. It is, really. When I thought about it this way, it struck me how easy the act of killing was. If I could leave evidence, if I was just going to kill him, anyone could easily turn into a murderer. But our reason prevented that. It told us doing so would get us arrested for sure. In the end, being arrested by the police was the final thing preventing people from committing homicide. He actually does have a point. If homicide was not illegal, there would be a lot more of it. Absurd. If you went all the way into the middle of the ocean, you wouldn't leave any trace at all. Anyone would drop those they hated into the depths if they knew that. It was all too easy to simply remove him. I could leave class right now, grab a metal baseball bat or something from the schoolyard, go to his house, and attack him. Could you beat him in a fight, though? He's older than you. I don't know if he's like... He didn't sound like a scrawny guy. He sounded like a big guy. Estimated time would be 25 minutes. Okay, well, let's not do home run practice on him. That would definitely leave evidence behind. If I wanted us to kill each other, it wouldn't even be minutes. I could do it in 1,500 seconds. I just knew how much of his continued existence depended on me. He was nothing. I could expel him from this world within just 1,500 seconds after making up my mind. From when I decided what to do, he had only 1,500 seconds. Actually, if I ran full speed to his house, that number would go down even further. But he was alive. He was still part of this world at this very moment, having torn Satoko's body and mind to shreds. Why? Because I was letting him live. I was permitting him to live, so he was alive. Keiichi, you're going down a real slippery slope right now, okay, dude? If I rescinded that permission, he would be evacuating this mortal coil within 1,500 seconds. You think I'd let you live to breathe even 1,500 more seconds of air? Stop talking about 1,500 seconds! I'm taking that permission back, right here, right now. You better thank me for letting you live until today. However, I actually need more than 1,500 seconds. I'm not just gonna end you. Getting back to our old lives is far more important. It's only you I'll be cleanly cutting out of this world. They won't find a culprit. I'll forget that I dirtied my hands on the likes of you as naturally as I brush my teeth before bed. Or to do that, I'll make a special exception for you and give you more than 1,500 seconds. I'm just saying, Keiichi, even if you think it's justified, killing somebody is not something you're going to forget as easily as brushing your teeth at night. Like, that's gonna stick with you for the rest of your life. I'll give you special permission to keep on living as you have until I can construct the perfect plan for murder for you. Okay, what's the new... Oh, it's the same music. Why is it sometimes it's the same music and sometimes it's not? I don't get it. Wait, Keiichi. You can't let that time go to waste. Yeah, I know. I'll kill him quickly. He's talking to himself. He's crazy. Can you imagine how crazy you have to be to talk to yourself? Like, seriously, that's a sure sign that you're an insane person. Okay, Artie, you need to stop talking about that, alright? People are gonna think you're crazy. I'll kill him quickly. I'll remove him with certainty. I won't even waste much time to perfect that plan. Think back. Tomorrow is with Tanagashi, isn't it? Last year on the night of Watanagashi, her aunt died. Her head was busted open by some deviant and her brain splattered everywhere. That's it. He's someone who deserves to be given death on the night of Watanagashi. Hey, Oyashiro-sama. You call yourself a guardian, but you didn't protect Satoko. Cursing Satoko's family for the damn stuff is your own business, but now you've made Satoko unhappy when she didn't have anything to do with it. I, Keiichi Maebara, hereby denounce you, the guardian deity of Hinamizawa, a failure. We don't need you. Go back to the deepest, darkest part of your shrine this year. Besides, if you had just cursed and killed both her aunt and uncle last year, none of this would have ever happened. The curse this year, it's not on you. I'll be the one deciding. It won't be the three families controlling the serial deaths behind the scenes. No, not some vague people who I can't tell if they're buffoons or not. This time, I'll be the one to deliver divine judgment. So don't get in my way, just watch. Stay quiet and watch. I'll obliterate him. I'll wipe him off the face of the earth. I will stomp out his very existence. Go away! Disappear! 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 And die. I'll tear your heart apart just like you did to Satoko. I'll have your blood as payment. Imagine if we were saying all that out loud.
ケイイチ君、大丈夫？
Nope. I'm pretty sure we have lizard eyes at this point. Rena, Mion, and Rika-chan were all looking after me. Had I fallen to the floor?
急に倒れたからびっくりしたよ。うなされてなかった？うなってたよ。
What was I saying? Oh, shoot.
黄色い声で話しかけるな。
Yeah, we definitely have reptile eyes now. My friends gave a start and backed away.
なんだよ。
Rena and the others, they exchanged glances, unsure of what to say, and stood confused for a few moments.
今のケイイチ君の声。
Oh, bro, imagine if it was actually Oyashiro-sama who was speaking to us during that time and not, like, our thoughts. What if we're being manipulated by the demon?
当たり前だろ。
Rena gulped firmly and opened her mouth.
今一瞬ケイイチ君。
Yep!
その
I knew it!
すごい目だった。
We are starting to go crazy.
目？光の角度でそう見えたんだろ。
Well, to be fair, Rena, your eyes have done the exact same thing at multiple points throughout this route, so, you know.
バカバカしい。
見間違いじゃないよ。あんな目初めて見た。
What were those guys talking about? They've all been too scared of me lately.
前原ケイイチ君だよね。
What was Rena saying? Who else do I look like except Keiichi Maebara? The look I gave her seemed to speak quite eloquently to those irritated thoughts. She understood and quickly apologized.
ごめん、気にしないでね。
Well, alright. I guess we're planning a murder. It's like the visual novel equivalent of Crime and Punishment. New tips unlocked! Emergency and DLC, D2-3, number 44. 1,500 seconds reached an epiphany. Oh. Funny, funny, because he kept talking about 1,500 seconds, and that's what you named the achievement. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Alright, emergency. June 18th, 1983. Oh, it's not redacted this time. Abuse issues regarding Satoko Hojo. Urgent. We propose that Satoko Hojo must be taken into immediate custody based on the items below. 1. Family situation. Life with adoptive father who recently returned to Hinamizawa has already turned disastrous, and she is currently subject to unendurable physical and mental abuse from her father. 2. Child Consultation Center's response. A child probation officer was dispatched yesterday on the 17th from the Prefecture Welfare Office, but because of the 77 case, changed to continued coaching and cautionary action. Unfortunately, the consultation office head does not properly understand the situation. 3. Status of concerned child. Child already appears to be suffering from an outbreak of something close to neurosis or manic depression. If her unstable pubescent mind is negatively stimulated by stress, it will put her development of a healthy body and mind at risk. This cannot be allowed to continue from a humane standpoint. 4. Allegations made to the family court. We propose, based on the above items, that Satoko Hojo should immediately be taken into protective custody. She should be secured temporarily under emergency allegations to the family court under Article 28. We request emergency coordination between all related agencies. Okay, but it was talking about her adoptive father, so that is indicating this was back when she made the fake one and not what happened as a result of Teacher-san talking. Children with Special Needs, General D2-3, number 44, 1977. Child name, Satoko Hojo, redacted year-olds old. Residence, redacted in Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. 1. Consultation circumstances. Telephone SOS from child abuse. 2. Abuse situation. Child claims she's being physically abused by her adoptive father. 3. Family structure. Circle means abusers. Circle, adoptive father, real mother, older brother, child in question. Note, adoptive father and real mother entered family registry in 19 redacted. The child is the daughter of the mother's previous husband. 4. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of the child's telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked of her situation. On that day, the child welfare officer on duty visited the child's house and conducted an interview. The adoptive father sincerely listened to instruction and agreed to take child-raising workshops in the city from now on. As part of the suggested coaching, the center will continue to observe the situation. 5. Other notes. As a result of numerous counseling sessions at the city's education and consultation office regarding the child, we learned that there was a high possibility the cause of the child's excessive distrust towards her adoptive father was the result of a lack of communication. The abuse she claimed hadn't actually taken place. She had made a false report to distance herself from her adoptive father. Below is a note written in pencil by the person on duty at the time. The problem appeared to be more with the daughter. Chief Investigator F of the City Education's Consultation Office said that most of her stories of abuse were likely fabrications. They decided to shift the focus of their coaching to the child. Be cautious not to take everything the child says as truth. Interesting. Oh, the alien music that I was hearing technically had 2 different versions, but one was just a remix. They sounded exactly the same based on the short bit that I heard. But, alright, fair enough. Alright, well, given the heavy subject matter and the time of night, as well as the fact that I do have stuff I need to do early tomorrow morning, I think we've got to end the stream there. Again, that was a lot to take in. Definitely some very dark themes happening right now, but we'll be continuing this on Sunday, and then hopefully we can finish this in 2 more streams. So 1 on Sunday, 1 on Halloween. Here's hoping if we potentially need another stream, then maybe I'll stream Wednesday and Halloween, which I believe Halloween's a Thursday. So we'll figure that out. Thanks for joining in, everybody. Thanks for chatting. It was definitely enjoyable. I wish you all a fantastic rest of your night, a great weekend, and God bless.